the strongest technician of the Hidden Sand Village. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326. This is the taste of love. Under the setting sun, at the training ground dedicated to Sunagakure, Shiraishi stood quietly on the ground holding the Shinto heavenly sword in his hand. His body did not move, but the surrounding air became restless due to Shiraishi's strong aura. Beishi slowly raised his head, and the traces of dragon seals appeared around his eyes. For a moment, the Shinto heavenly sword was directly unsheathed to produce a huge light, which shone on Beishi, as if confirming the world in front of him. The pure natural power carried by the Shinto heavenly sword shows that Shiraishi himself and the ninja have similar personalities. If Obito or Raja Hamadara are using the Shinto heavenly sword today, then the Shinto heavenly sword will naturally be in a different state in their hands. The sword suddenly turned, and the sword mark opened a crescent airflow in mid-air, constantly flashing brilliance. Although it was just a glimpse of the memory of the time traveler in the mirror, that sword left a deep impression on Shiraishi. It seemed like a natural killing swordsmanship, giving people a chilling feeling. A murderous sword. Everyone has their own way of swordsmanship or swordsmanship. Although Shiraishi is proficient in swords and various ninja styles, his core way is still his pure way of nature, and his attack methods belong to the most orthodox king style. To sum it up in a simple sentence, the special effects pictures produced when Shiraishi attacks are all majestic and powerful special effects colors, crushing the opponent with pure power, but that person's sword follows the path of killing. Without any distracting thoughts, covered by pure killing intent, anyone will be swallowed by his killing intent and turn into a dead soul under her sword. We are in a different world, but since Shiraishi sorted out the scene in his memory, he has used his own virtual system to perform deductions, allowing himself to be immersed in an environment similar to boiling murderous intent at all times, and hone his own more refined fighting skills. The more he felt the strange murderous intention around him, the calmer he became. In an instant, Beishi held his own Shinto heavenly sword, and the cold light condensed on the sword showed a very domineering sword. The sword light flashed, as if locking all the surrounding space, and like a ray of light, it directly hit the sand tower used for training on the opposite side. The silver golden sand tower immediately left a deep sword mark on it. Beishi stepped forward and touched his slash mark, and then showed a smile. Sure enough, no matter how I draw the sword, it will not become such a sword with killing intent. They look similar, but are not the same sword marks. It cannot be simulated, but the sword in your hand follows your own path, so the Shinto heavenly sword is currently the most suitable weapon for you. Shiraishi withdrew his weapon and stood quietly on the training ground, without any emotion in his eyes. Although she was a strong man who entered the Tao through killing, there was no trace of evil in her body. Such an extreme mixture made Shiraishi become more and more interested in her, and he even looked forward to the day he could meet her. I don't know how Uzumaki, Tomoki and Ace reported on their first day at the Navy Department. Nan Country Naval Headquarters, under the huge gate, is a newly built naval headquarters base, standing on the peninsula. Countless dark blue naval staff come in and out, constantly sorting out various incidents on the sea. The Admiralty's administrative authority is very broad. Basically, the Admiralty will get involved in any affairs in this sea area. Even in the internal affairs of some small islands, the Admiralty will create various troubles to intervene. Nagase Bison has not participated in the later construction of the Navy Ministry in the past few years. Now that he has taken over such a behemoth, he naturally feels a certain degree of pressure. Although Ryoharu Morimoto was dismissed from his post, the Navy still has a female admiral and several alternate admirals, all of whom were the backbones trained by Ryoharu Morimoto in the past. The huge conference room slowly opened, and Nagase Bison, wearing a Navy marshal's uniform, walked into the conference room with a tired look. Apart from the two new admirals, including Tomoki, Uzumaki and Ace, the rest were all new faces. Some people have never even met Shiraishi in Sunagakure village. They only know from photos how many new recruits the Navy Department has recruited and graduated this year, and how many people have been promoted. Also feeling the pressure was Uzumaki. Tomoki. Taking over the intelligence department under the Navy Ministry was not a simple matter. He had never even met the heads of various intelligence groups. Most of the intelligence officers were out all year round, and they only had code names in the information. He had to meet the others in person to know what kind of people they were, because the identities of some of them were too sensitive, and many of them were high-level officials in other villages originally. The intelligence department was directly under the management of Navy Marshal Morimoto Ryoharu, but now it is split to Uzumaki Tamuki. Shiraishi does not want the power of the Navy Ministry to be too concentrated in the hands of one person. Ji hasn't arrived yet. Yuka was once a member of Shirogakure village's ice release blood family. She is currently the only beautiful jounin from the Navy among the 3 admirals of the Navy. With her light blue hair and her unique blood family ability, she is the favorite of many people. Winter Nightmare. Yuka's origin as a new member of the blood family who joined Sunagakure. Her background is somewhat similar to Uzumaki Tamuki's, and her personality is relatively gentle. She should not have too much conflict with Uzumaki Tamuki and Ace. On the other hand, Shiraishi also considered that these 3 people were single and wanted to glue them together. Ji has already arrived and is standing at the door refusing to come in. One of the female Admiralty Jounin rolled her eyes and focused on the short-haired girl with glasses at the door. The fresh hair, the delicate face, the clear eyes, and the fresh and natural breath exuding from the inside out paint a beautiful picture. Just acquired. Remember the previous information said that she has a gentle personality? This is no longer a question of gentleness, but of feeling like a sheep. Naga's Bizan scratched his head, a little surprised that Yuka would be such a shy girl. He remembered that in addition to the 3 names previously drafted on the Admiral waiting list, Yuka was also on it. However, the information shows that UU Reading www.ukanshu.net Zuji's level of ice escape development is very rare and has reached an astonishing level. Even the old one can't compare to Zuji's ice escape ability. Obviously, Zuji's blood inheritance has very good adaptability in the combat environment at sea. Haha, unexpectedly cute. As soon as Ace spoke, Yukaji's face turned even redder, and she thought silently in her heart, this is Ace who has the strength to suppress Morimoto senpai. He is such a handsome guy. But handsome red-haired guy from the Uzumaki family next door is also very good looking. It's so embarrassing. Both of them are perfect little brothers. Which one should I choose? In Zuji's eyes, Lord Kazekage's arrangement with the 3rd Admiral was to choose a future husband for Zuji. So before she entered the door, when she saw the 2 handsome men, her face turned red, and she dared not go in. The world is big and marriage is the biggest. Chapter 327, Itachi's Challenge. The conference room decoration and various chandelier accessories at the Navy headquarters are all expensive luxuries. Some of the decorations are much more luxurious than Shiraishi's Kazekage office. The large chandelier in this conference room alone was equivalent to 3 months' salary for a jounin. Naga's Bizan was already a little unhappy that such a luxurious and decadent thing was hanging majestically on it. Although the Navy Ministry under the management of Ryoharu Morimoto over the years is a new department, it cannot help but be tainted with an air of staleness. Since he was a child, Naga's Bizan was naturally dissatisfied with these things. Although he did not have an attack, he still looked at Yuka in a very cultivated manner. Sit down, Miss Yuka. You will have a lot of time to spend time with Admiral Ace. Communicate with Admiral Maelstrom. But, Ji's face turned red when someone pointed out her thoughts, and she almost fainted. She felt that such a shy little girl was the successor of the famous ice escape blood of the Navy Department. Yuka sat down cautiously and secretly looked at Ace and Tomoki from time to time. Naga's-Bizan now admired the Kazekage-sama's vision. It was obvious that Yuka was the only one to choose Yuka for the position among so many former high-ranking officials of the Navy. The current situation. Looking at the senior officials of the Navy Ministry in the conference room, Naga's-Bizan said softly, as for the adjustment of many tasks of the Navy Ministry in the next stage, in fact, I still respect the opinions of the former senior officials of the Navy Ministry. A series of information was placed on the table, and then he turned his attention to Zuji opposite him, as an old man from the Navy Department. Admiral Zuji, what do you think of this matter? Well, no problem. After Tsuji said something perfunctory. She continued to secretly look at Ace and Tomoki, her heart pounding incessantly. As if he didn't see Yukahime's current state, Nagace Bizun talked about the relevant content by himself, and then asked Yukahime for her opinion from time to time, regarding the expenditure and budget of the Navy Department. The assessment will be re-evaluated next. What does Admiral Tsuji think of this matter? No problem. In addition, the Navy Department's inventory of various weapons and supplies also needs to be inventoried. However, he saw Tomoki secretly giving an orange to Yukiji, and Ace stuck out his tongue upon seeing this, and playfully handed another orange to Yukiji. Yukiji, who received 2 oranges at once, looked as he didn't even hear what Nagace Bizun said. I obey. These guys are so shady. Although Yukahime was asked for his opinion from the beginning to the end, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Admiral Yukahime was in a state of infatuation, and Ace and Uzumaki Tomoki were very cooperative with Nagace Bizun, constantly chatting and communicating with Yukahime. Things at work. The ice-bending blood successors trained by the Navy Department in the past were now defeated by 2 handsome guys, which made several other jounin in the Navy Department feel the urge to vomit blood. But there was nothing to be done. Tsuji was a high-ranking person promoted from the original system of the Navy. Since she agreed, a lot of work and adjustments had to be carried out. Among the 3 admirals' work, Ace is responsible for the frontline work of encircling and suppressing various renegade ninja pirates. Tomoki is responsible for the management of the intelligence department, and Yukahime is responsible for the deployment of the rear areas, including the medical team specially set up by the Navy, the sealing team, etc. As the Supreme Marshal of the Navy, Nagace Bizun has taken over the work of Morimoto Ryoharu, so he naturally has to deal with some external issues, such as continuing to compete with Kumo Ninja for control of many northern islands. In addition, there are also Cloud Ninja forces appearing in the eastern continent. Although it is still a certain distance from the Kingdom of Demons, it has also made Sunagakure more vigilant. At Mount Mayaboku, Fukasaku Sage and Shima Sage walked slowly towards the main hall to pay their respects to the old sage as usual. However, they unexpectedly found that the great sage who used to like to sleep now had a solemn expression on his face, thinking deeply. Father, what's wrong with you? Since the end of the intervention operation against Sunagakure's invasion, the old immortal has been dreaming frequently, and during this period, his dreams have become more frequent, and they are always accompanied by various nightmares. The destruction of this world is getting closer and closer. What? The old sage said, shocked Fukasaku and Shima. Father, is that dream getting clearer and clearer? I have just performed a spell and noticed that the world barrier has been successfully opened in the sand-hidden village and people from outside the world have been introduced. This is exactly the same as the scene in the dream. This is also the countdown to the destruction of the world. When the great immortal guided Jiraiya in the dream, he actually foresaw the mutated future. The Kazekage from Sunagakure village and the disaster star would inevitably bring the world to the edge of destruction. The bane of the reincarnation eye has not yet grown up, but what the Kazekage did has already made the old sage unable to restrain himself. Father, if you want to take action against Sunagakure, you must contact the Mistbone Forest, Konoha and other ninja continents that are dissatisfied with Sunagakure, and unite them to give Sunagakure a fatal blow. The current hidden trump card of Mount Mayaboku is actually the pile of stone statues under the Toad Falls. Although there are many strong men from all walks of life in the ninja world among them, there is still a slight gap between the strength of these people and Aoki Shiraishi. The immortal of Shigu Forest is still stronger than the great immortal of Myomu Mountain, but for thousands of years, he rarely takes action in person. He only splits part of his power to perform healing and channeling. But in fact, the main body living in Shigu Forest has a powerful combat power that can shock the world. It must be brought down. Contact Jiraiya and ask him to find a way to get in touch with Tsunade. The Uchiha clan's training ground holds an intra-tribe assessment every year. As the clan leader, Uchiha Fugaku, accompanied by Kid, conducts the assessment of the younger generation of Uchiha. Reading www.ukanshu.net. During this period, Kid, as the most popular young strongman in the Uchiha clan, gained many followers. After all, Uchiha Kid advocated that Uchiha must gain more say in Konoha. Compared with the forbearance of Fugaku and his son, most of them the tribe prefers Feng. Fugaku didn't react much to this matter. If Itachi continued to disappoint him, he wouldn't mind letting Uchiha Kid become a qualified assistant to help him manage Uchiha before Sasuke grew up. Hey, it's Itachi, why is he here? The sharp-eyed tribesman immediately spotted a black short-haired Uchiha Itachi, slowly walking towards the tribe's assessment field point. Although Uchiha Itachi is qualified to participate in the clan assessment every year, due to his strong strength, no one has dared to challenge him over the years, and he has no one in particular to challenge. Seeing his son appear, Fugaku instinctively sensed something was wrong. Uchiha Itachi, who was half kneeling, raised his head and looked at Uchiha Kid next to Fugaku. Father, I'm here to challenge Kid. Uchiha Itachi's challenge directly aroused exclamations from the tribe. Chapter 328, Kaleidoscope Showdown. Facing Uchiha Itachi's challenge, a firestorm condensed around Uchiha Kid and flashed in front of Uchiha Itachi. The two of them each opened the 3 Megatama stage Sharingan and stared at the opposite Itachi. I didn't expect that you would show up to me here, issue a challenge. This battle will come sooner or later. Why not let the clansmen witness it? Uchiha Itachi said no more. At this time, countless crows suddenly started up around him. They were glowing with dark red blood and kept swooping towards Uchiha Kid with a sense of danger. They pounced directly on Uchiha Kid. Several Uchiha clan members also opened their Sharingan, but they couldn't tell the authenticity of these crows. Where did the crows come from? Illusion? Or substitution or something else? However, he saw that the flames around Uchiha Kid turned into a pillar of fire. During the high-speed rotation, a scorching airflow was generated to force the crow to retreat, and countless flaming blades counterattacked. However, they saw the group of crows quickly evading, then quickly converged again, and penetrated into Uchiha Itachi's body. At this moment, all the Uchiha tribesmen observing with Sharingan suddenly found that Uchiha Itachi in front of them seemed to have a sense of substance again. No longer illusory. Even Fugaku frowned, because even he didn't see Itachi's illusion method clearly. At that moment, he almost thought that the crows were all living creatures at this time. Uchiha Itachi's dark red eyes flashed, and he snapped his fingers with his right hand, as if it was a signal to turn on some kind of switch, and darkness suddenly came. Uchiha Kid suddenly felt that the surroundings had become dark, losing light, surrounding sounds, the blazing sunlight, and the enemy's figure. The unpreventable Jinjutsu means that Uchiha Itachi's current attainments in Jinjutsu are no less than those of Shizu in the past. However, Itachi's Jinjutsu is more focused on assassination than instantaneous Shizu. If the senses are deprived, no matter what you see, hear, smell, or touch, you will gain nothing. Even Uchiha Kid's perception range has been compressed to a range of 1 meter from the beginning. Uchiha Kid and Uchiha Itachi didn't make any move, just looking at each other. However, at this time, the ace cells in Uchiha Kid's body suddenly activated, and the blazing white fireball surrounding them suddenly shot out. Itachi narrowed his eyes and also released the powerful fireball technique. As the fierce flames collided with each other, Uchiha Kid suddenly squatted down and punched the ground violently. Boom. The ground in front of him was like seawater, shattered by this punch, with a crack of more than 10 centimeters wide, extending for nearly 100 meters, getting narrower and narrower. At the corresponding position in the air currents were all separated and turned into a huge sky. Angry flames, pure fire escape. The flame fist is burning in the hand. Combined with Uchiha Kid's powerful ninjutsu, it is like a burning living person is wrapped around the whole body, giving people a horrifying feeling. These flames illuminated the surroundings, and the thrown flames together with the impact waves instantly engulfed the earth, scorching and burning up. Even Itachi's powerful fireball technique just now was in a super flame state that was unmatched. At the same time, countless flame bullets were shot out, sweeping in with high-speed waves, and heading straight for Itachi. Uchiha. The flame field that swallowed everything was created almost instantly, and even Itachi, who also practiced fire escape, felt troublesome. Uchiha Kid's domineering and pure fire escape technique has become so strong. When Itachi saw this, he quickly looked at Uchiha Kid and cast an illusion magic shackle technique. This is an extremely powerful illusion technique mastered by Uchiha Itachi. In the spiritual world, constructed by the user, the captured person's limbs will feel like being driven into a wedge, and the freedom of the body will be completely lost. At the same time, it will also be accompanied by the illusion of physical pain. It exerts a powerful effect like torture. The supreme illusion that restrains the opponent's movements does not require any seals. It can be activated simply by looking at the opponent. In history, Orochimaru was instantly killed by Itachi's move. The two of them stopped moving again. Itachi may have cast a Jinjutsu just now, several Uchiha clan members said uncertainly, because they had no idea when Uchiha Itachi cast his Jinjutsu point. Although the shackles technique is a relatively common Jinjutsu using Sharingan, it is extremely rare for Uchiha Itachi to trigger it at the moment of looking at each other like this. Fugaku naturally saw that it was the art of shackles, but since Itachi hadn't taken the next step, it was obvious that the two sides were confronting each other. In the illusion world point, but in the spiritual world, Uchiha's body was also burning with huge high temperature power, and the cold ice and fire were raging, and the darkness contains both ice and fire characteristics, somewhat similar to Kazekage's ice escape type Kingayan. The extremely cold flames displayed by Aoki Shiraishi in the Battle of the Five Shadows conference were observed by the Five Shadows, but only the Hokage and several senior Konoha officials knew about the relevant records. However, Uchiha Shizu was also an eyewitness at that time, and Itachi also mentioned this special illusion breaking flame. This flame, Shizu, cannot copy this kind of flame. It just means that his Sharingan is not well adapted to this power, but I can control this kind of flame. Uchiha Ki's words were full of pride, which made Itachi mistakenly think that this was his special ability to control the fire Sharingan, which can simulate the special extremely cold flame of Kazekage that destroys illusions. At this time, the silver flame suddenly burned, and the fire broke out in midair in the spiritual world. The silver flame bloomed from white to blue, completely engulfing the spiritual world in front of him. The world shattered, and when he returned to the real world, he saw the flames burning on the ground, constantly feeding back to Uchiha Kid, forming a red flame vortex lotus. The fire of sunshine suddenly spurted out, forming a pillar of destructive energy fire, which exploded directly on Itachi. Itachi seemed to be frozen in place by the ice in the spiritual world, making it difficult to move. At this time, the airflow around Uchiha Kid spontaneously ignited, the void fired, and balls of fireballs swarmed in and exploded one after another. Just when Uchiha Kid was about to punch him, reading www.wakanshu.net. However, Weasel's body suddenly exploded and turned into a huge energy wave. A clone that can explode without any seals. The exploded clone caused the surrounding heat wave airflow to obscure his vision. But he saw Uchiha Kid suddenly activate the Mangekyou Sharingan of the Fuma Shuriken. A scarlet light flashed and directly faced Itachi's Mangekyou Sharingan in the darkness. It's the Mangekyou Sharingan. Both of them have opened the Mangekyou Sharingan. Many members of the Uchiha clan saw it with their own eyes, but Fugaku's expression turned very bad. These two guys started fighting here unscrupulously. Don't they understand that Konoha now has two more Mangekyou Sharingans? How afraid of one thing, the relationship between the two parties that had finally been buffered before was feared to fall into the same old cycle again, because these two guys activated the Mangekyou Sharingan this time. On the battlefield, the two pairs of Sharingan eyes facing each other took action at the same time. Tsukuyomi, the place of end. Chapter 329, it turns out to be you. Compared with the world of consciousness created by the art of Luohang, Tsukuyomi is its enhanced version. When Tsukuyomi is activated, as long as you see the other person's eyes, an unknown alien world will appear in front of the other person's eyes. In this world, all factors including time, place, geographical location, etc. are controlled by the caster, thus giving the opponent a devastating mental blow. It was once called the strongest mental attack. Uchiha Kid was hung on the cross like this, almost unable to move effectively. Uchiha Kid, what exactly are you planning? Itachi was not in a hurry to take action against Uchiha Kid. Itachi was just concerned about what Uchiha Kid's purpose was. It was originally thought that he was just an ambitious man similar to Danzo, but now it seems that Uchiha Kid has another plan. So Itachi must investigate what he is really planning. Combined with the mysterious masked man who created the Ninetales Rebellion, Itachi knew very well that both Konoha and Uchiha were being plotted by some people. But he was unable to find out their true purpose, so he took advantage of this clan assessment to create Tsukuyomi. The world came to restrain Uchiha Kid. Although the land of ending had just been deployed, Uchiha Kid was pulled into the illusion world by Itachi first. This Tsukuyomi, generally, Genjutsu aims to disrupt the opponent's vision, hearing and other senses, to achieve the purpose of performing the spell. But Itachi's Tsukuyomi draws the enemy into the world of Tsukuyomi, thereby destroying the enemy's spirit. If you are caught by an illusion, you can also use Tsukuyomi to enter your companion's mental space and eliminate the illusion for your companion. The difficulty with Tsukuyomi is that no matter how long it lasts in the illusion space, it only lasts for a moment in reality, and there is still no time to break the illusion. Overseeing Uchiha Kid's nonchalant look, Itachi frowned and quickly stabbed Uchiha Kid's body with the sword in his hand. However, he saw that the latter's expression did not change, and the powerful flames burning on his body actually repaired his body freely. This illusion is certainly terrifying, but it is not unsolvable. Looking at Itachi opposite, Uchiha Kid sneered. Illusion consumes less chakra, but it consumes a lot of energy. No matter how long the illusion lasts, the user's energy is equivalent to using the illusion for the same time. When Uchiha Kid said this, although Itachi's expression was very controlled, his mood still fluctuated a little. For you, being in this world naturally requires the corresponding amount of mental energy to be consumed. Assuming that you have to stay in this world for 3 days, then you will also be constantly consuming mental energy to maintain the mental energy for these 3 days. Itachi did not deny what Uchiha Kid said. He looked at Uchiha Kid without changing his eyes and stabbed Uchiha Kid's body with the sword in his hand again. Let me ask you again, what is your purpose? What's the point of being so persistent in this matter? The village or the clan members are nothing but a constraint to you. Uchiha. Itachi, who has been thinking about the village and his people since he was a child, has always been a stubborn person. Even if the situation is so unfavorable, he is still determined to bear it all by himself, even using Obito to bring about the Ninetales Rebellion. When the Uchiha clan was suspected of being picked out, originally thought that everything would change, but then Itachi sadly discovered that neither Konoha nor the Uchiha clan had changed at all, which gave Itachi's eyes a hint of fatigue that was not for his age. After a long silence, Itachi still said in such an indifferent tone, I just need your answer, ha ha ha. Uchiha Itachi, you are still the stupid Itachi brother, so innocent and innocent. Itachi didn't say anything. When he raised his sword again and prepared to stab it, he saw an unusual change in the surrounding environment. After chuckling a few times, Uchiha Kid's main Gekkai Sharingan eyes continued to rotate at high speed. Uchiha Itachi, you don't think this world is really under your control, do you? Uchiha Kid's words were full of provocation. Itachi always noticed something was wrong when he saw this. At this time, a strong scorching light burned and hit Uchiha Itachi directly. Wearing a black robe with red clouds and holding a green dragon ring, the black-haired Deidara appeared as a ghost. As his hands crisscrossed and swayed, the dust transformed into a special 8-sided mirror-colored light and shone. Seeing the dust escape energy of the power of destruction, Uchiha Itachi quickly rolled up countless air vortexes around him, directly dissolving the power of dust escape. No matter what, dust releases a power in the real world. In this world, dominated by Weasel's consciousness, dust release is nothing more than a powerful mental attack. Breaking the dust escape attack, Itachi didn't dare to be careless and looked at the mysterious man who appeared from the darkness with vigilant eyes. The appearance of his consciousness projection is not necessarily his appearance in the real world. The Chen escape just now may not be the real Chen escape. Perhaps he used his own mental power to simulate similar attack methods. Therefore, Itachi did not confirm his identity, but the illusion skills of those who could enter this world of consciousness were equally extraordinary. Holding the silver mask representing Shiraishi's main consciousness, Deidara stood silently opposite without saying a word. It caused by your kaleidoscope, facing Itachi's question, Uchiha slowly stepped down from the cross that bound him and gave the answer. Just now at the same time that you released Tsukuyomi, I also released the land of ending, because Tsukuyomi is a visual illusion. The effect on enemies, who are also good at visual illusions, will be severely reduced. In fact, the time for Tsukuyomi to pull Uchiha is delayed. In this process, Shiraishi's consciousness world network generates self-help defense measures. Considering that other people's identities were sensitive, Deidara entered the Tsukuyomi world with Uchiha point. Although he understood that it was due to the visual buffering caused by the ending land, it was difficult for Uchiha Itachi to understand why this person would easily invade this special world of consciousness. Reading www.ukanshu.net. What's more, when he just fought, he was surrounded by his own people, and he had never outsiders appear, and when Deidara put on the mask, the aura leaked from his body, which made Itachi's heart beat fast, and an indescribable feeling of threat came to his heart. Deidara, who put on the silver mask, had already become dominated by the white stone. The sacred light generated around him seemed to purify everything around him. The soft music sounded, and the brilliance of the divine sword of heaven seemed to make the world break out of its shell and reborn generally. What a powerful purification illusion. Being able to set up Jinjutsu within Jinjutsu in the Tsukuyomi world he created, Uchiha Itachi's hands couldn't help but tremble. Under the special light, some rules of the Tsukuyomi world were changed. To put it bluntly, a Tsukuyomi world is also an operation of mental power illusion. Although it is technically perfect, there will still be a trace of instability when faced with that kind of rough and huge mental power. This level of mental power, in today's era, the only one who can achieve this level is the monster who is called the strongest in the ninja world, Aoki. Shiraishi. Chapter 330, Deliberately Misleading Judgment. Aoki Shiraishi, the strongest existence in the ninja world today, once defeated the heroes of Konoha with one person's power, abruptly rewrote the pattern of the Third Ninja World War, and created a glorious and powerful period for Sunagakure village. He is the contemporary Uchiha Madara. Although he was wearing a silver mask, Shiraishi's unabashed mental strength and pressure made even Itachi's palms sweat a lot. The Uchiha family is really full of geniuses. Compared to Senju and Hagoromo, you have the capital to be jealous. Although Shiraishi didn't make any moves, in just a few words, Itachi could notice that his control over the Tsukuyomi world was constantly weakening. The green wood and white stone in front of him, surrounded by countless flying silver butterflies, was actually a part of his spiritual power. The dancing silver butterflies kept reverberating in the air, constantly interfering with the normal operation of the Tsukuyomi world. These butterflies are analyzing the world of Tsukuyomi. Shiraishi, who holds the divine sword of heaven in his hand, did not directly transform into a battle armor form. Instead, he controlled these butterflies and continuously integrated into the world of Tsukuyomi, giving Shiraishi a deeper understanding of this type of illusion. Compared with fighting Itachi, he is actually more interested in the composition of Tsukuyomi's world. These silver butterflies transformed by mental power are connected to his own body's regeneration core and can quickly transfer data to the supercomputing system at the maritime headquarters for storage. Itachi twisted countless blades out of his hands and shot them out, but before he could get close to Shiraishi, the blades automatically shattered and fell to the ground. Different from the pure mental destruction just now, Shiraishi's consciousness is now gradually gaining control of certain authority in the Tsukuyomi world. It is obviously because of the reason that silver butterfly has just analyzed thoroughly, so Itachi has to fight. Slowly raising his head, Shiraishi looked at him and felt a heavy pressure on his body. The strongest man in the ninja world fully released his mental power, almost making the entire Tsukuyomi world begin to shake. Uchiha Itachi, even if this is your Tsukuyomi world, how much strength do you have to resist? Without answering the question, Itachi turned to look at Uchiha on one side. Have you surrendered to Sunagakure? Konoha can no longer accommodate the Uchiha clan. Don't you understand, Itachi? Since everything happened in the Tsukuyomi world, Shiraishi didn't care that Itachi would reveal the matter. This guy was a master who liked to resist everything. After knowing that Sunagakure was planning behind it, he could only accept it all silently and then look for opportunities to change point. If you directly tell the top management of Konoha that Uchiha Kid and Sunagakure are colluding, it will actually be equivalent to implementing the rebellion of the Uchiha clan. When the time comes, Konoha's butcher knife will not only be aimed at Uchiha Kid. Does father also know about this matter? Uchiha Kid dares to put Shiraishi upright on the table, which shows that not only Uchiha Kid and the Uchiha clan, but perhaps his own father and even the entire clan have decided to cooperate with Sunagakure, working together internally and externally to destroy the village. Then, please confirm one thing first, how I entered your Tsukuyomi world. Shiraishi's words finally made Itachi's expression change. Yes, without the support of his father and clan members, how could anyone secretly sneak into his Tsukuyomi world at the clan assessment site? Aoki Shiraishi must also be near the site point, and his voice was the same as Lopner's voice at the Lowland Chamber of Commerce. Sure enough, when Lopner arrived in Konoha, had the Uchiha clan and Sunagakure reached cooperation, under Shiraishi's deliberate misleading, Itachi discovered with some sadness that his people were really on a road of no return point under Shiraishi's strong mental pressure. Uchiha Kid broke through his own boundaries indirectly. Opened the power of Susanoo, the ultimate blood successor of the Uchiha clan, directly in the spiritual world. The orange-red chakra materialized giant stood behind Itachi with an astonishing aura point compared to Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Shizu Susanoo. Uchiha Itachi's Susanoo existed in such a color and situation that Shiraishi seemed to notice something was wrong point at this time. He made a breakthrough and forcibly activated Susanoo in the Tsukuyomi world. Did he underestimate Itachi, or did he underestimate the great willpower of this world? The previous pressure Shiraishi put on him allowed Itachi to finally break through the blood inheritance and borrow the power of the Mangekyou Sharingan in his body to fully create Susanoo's abilities in advance. It was a complete sense of deja vu. With the explosion of a small universe point, summoning Susanoo was not enough. The giant behind him pulled out a burning blood-red sword and stood in opposition to the Shiraishi Tendo divine sword point. Sure enough, if Susanoo appears at this time, he must have a backup plan. 10. Fist Sword. The 10 Fist Sword exists in the Uchiha clan's pupil technique Susanoo. It is based on the blood succession limit and can only be obtained through the Sharingan blood succession limit. In history, a certain Uchiha ancestor opened Susanoo and demonstrated the 10-fist sword, but now it seems that it was inherited from Uchiha Itachi's genes. Can this be obtained? Shiraishi felt as sick as eating a bite of a fly, but Itachi's protagonist treatment and cheating didn't seem to be over yet. When the silver butterflies gathered around Shiraishi and turned into a silver holy light, Uchiha Itachi endured the pain and a special blood-red shield appeared on Zeduo Nenhu's hand, which directly defused the sword attack point. At this moment, Shiraishi's face jumped. Since the 10-fist sword can be pulled out, it is not surprising that the 8-foot mirror appears again. The 8-foot mirror has no physical shield and can defend against all attacks, including physical attacks, soul attacks, physical attacks or various ninjutsu. It has all properties of changes and can change its own attributes according to the attributes of the attack to render it ineffective. Like the 10-fist sword, a certain ancestor in Uchiha history opened the Susanoo and showed the Hachisha mirror. However, pay attention to one thing. This ancestor is not the same person as the 10-fist sword ancestor just now. Anyway, the genetic power of the two ancestors was integrated into Uchiha Itachi's body, allowing his Susanoo to inherit the power of both of them. Do you dare to pull it off a little further? Do you think this is a card drawing game, and it directly becomes the blood of the European emperor? When Susanoo used the Yatta mirror and the Juken sword together, Itachi almost reached an invincible state of attack and defense. Although it was a confrontation in the conscious world, Uchiha Itachi suddenly broke out, awakened the 10-fist sword and the 8-foot mirror, and directly confronted him head-on. This was also an unexpected change that was beyond Shiraishi's expectation. The combination of the 10-fist sword and the 8-foot mirror made Uchiha Itachi's Susanoo extremely powerful, even more threatening than the Uchiha Madara Shiraishi encountered when he traveled through time. Now he had to suspect that this was some kind of investigation. Carrot's will is at work, and it should be the will of the world behind the 6 paths immortal. Although this will only exists as an objective instinct, the emergence of this variable caused major deviations in history, so they gradually began to fight back. Especially after Shiraishi brings out Ace from another world. This world will definitely feel threatened. Those immortals in Myomu Mountain may have nightmares every day, and they may not even think that they are the great demon kings who will destroy the world. Then, in order to stop all this, he even dealt with himself and the entire Sunagakure at all costs. The attack of the 10-fist sword contains powerful illusion attacks, which conceal the opponent in the dream world forever. Reading www.ukanu.net. This is the knowledge that Raichidan gained while studying with the White Snake Immortal. Unexpectedly, this thing has made Raichidan fearful for many years. The weapon appeared at this time. Uchiha appeared on the side, not in a hurry to take action. Maintain the operation of the two artifacts. Uchiha Itachi, you are burning your life to fight with you. The Sharingan in both eyes gradually left behind terrifying blood. Now Itachi is just a young man, but he has a stronger will than ordinary people. If I conceal you, everything will be worth it. He must prevent Sunagakure from cooperating with the Uchiha clan, and prevent his father from going down the wrong path. Under the misleading atmosphere deliberately created by Shiraishi, Uchiha Itachi determined that Fugaku and the entire Uchiha clan had reached a cooperation agreement when the Lowland Chamber of Commerce arrived in Konoha. This makes everything make sense. Why Uchiha suddenly lost control and destroyed the supplies of the Lowland Chamber of Commerce, directly dragging down Konoha's finances, and then Wine and Ao was snatched away. In this series of events, the Uchiha clan did a lot for Sunagakure. Turns out this is the truth. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331, The Power of One Sword. Shiraishi was suspended in midair, and the divine sword of heaven behind him turned into countless swords, and shone with dazzling light. Even though Itachi Uchiha broke through his own boundaries and mastered Susanoo, he did not take direct action when facing the strongest man in the ninja world. Now under the impact of Shiraishi's powerful mental power, the rules in Tsukuyomi space are infinitely close to the real world. This is also the result of Shiraishi's previous success in analyzing countless silver butterflies from parsing to starting modification. It only took a few seconds for the supercomputing system to achieve its goal. At this time, the Mangekyou Sharingan in Uchiha's eyes was closely observing Itachi's Susanoo. The two of them both had Mangekyou Sharingan, but they took completely different routes. But it did not affect Uchiha's reference to Itachi's Susanoo. His own strength was improved, but the cautious Itachi did not take action immediately. On the contrary, his own Sharingan continued to project pupil power, trying to control that Tsukuyomi world again, and then find a way to force Shiraishi away. There is no movement, because this is just a projection of part of my consciousness. The seal of the 10-fist sword is meaningless, Uchiha. Itachi's expression changed after being told the central issue. At this time, Uchiha suddenly appeared on the side, and a sharp palm wind was concentrated in his palm. When Uchiha Itachi saw this, he also fought with his fists. The two fists froze in midair for an instant, but Uchiha's elbow flicked in a strange manner, causing his forearm to raise its head like a poisonous snake, and jumped up against Itachi's fist. He went up, spread his fingers, and grabbed the opponent's arm quickly, accurately, and hard. At this moment, Uchiha's 5 fingers glowed with dazzling green flames, as if they turned into the most violent flames, pouring scorching energy into Itachi's body. Green flame, an unexpected sneak attack. Green flames burned all over Itachi's body, but he turned into countless black crows, and swarmed from all directions. But now Susanoo automatically attacked, and the 10-fist sword blasted directly at Uchiha. Since Susanoo didn't move, then Uchiha Itachi was still where he was. Thinking of Uchiha, the ground suddenly cracked and rushed upward with force, just like the resurrection of a volcano, violently rushing towards Itachi's previous place. It's an illusion within an illusion. Don't be careless. As soon as Shiraishi opened his mouth, Uchiha suddenly discovered that Susanoo was also missing. Behind him, he saw the huge Susanoo appearing domineeringly, and the 10-fist sword was smashed down with terrifying force. The same Manjaki Sharingan. Uchiha is still too impatient and a bit inexperienced. The moment the 10-fist sword was struck down quickly, Shiraishi took out the 7 treasures tree. This ninja tool refined by the heretic demon contained a special power of light, intertwined with the sealing power of the 10-fist sword. Uchiha evacuated the place, but Itachi appeared from the front at some point, although the rules are infinitely close to the real world. After all, consciousness dominates the virtual world. You are too careless. At the moment of crisis, Uchiha's body quickly turned into countless flames, burning in the sky. To avoid Itachi's next wave of attacks became a fire elemental. Thank you for reminding me that this is a virtual world. While Uchiha was talking to Itachi, the light of the 10-fist sword and the 7 treasures tree merged and impacted, creating a huge explosion like light in the entire conscious world. At this time, that Tsukuyomi world showed signs of collapse under the impact of the 2 ninja tools. The shattered sky gave a glimmer of light to the originally dark red world. The rules that were previously infinitely close to the real world have now become dilapidated, and neither party can effectively control this world of consciousness. The essence of the 10-fist sword is a seal, and the 7 treasures tree has a similar function. When the power of the 2 ninja tools conflicts with each other, it has a drastic impact on the Tsukuyomi world, composed of the power of consciousness. Shiraishi, who was rising slowly, looked at Itachi below, who was protected by Susanoo from a high place. Can you block the next move, Uchiha? Itachi. At this time, under the control of Shiraishi, the divine sword of heaven turned into a beam of sanctioning light and suddenly exploded. Susanoo's 8-foot mirror quickly activated, forming a blood-red shield. However, Shiraishi's sword contains the power of the core Punisher, and the entire sword light almost cuts through the spiritual world. The 8-foot mirror tried to block it, but this sword was released by Shiraishi, condensing his own consciousness, and because of the purification power of the core Punisher, the 8-foot mirror was temporarily disabled. The sword pointed at Uchiha Itachi's brow. Shiraishi looked at Uchiha Itachi with a hint of meaning. The 10-fist sword and the 8-foot mirror are temporarily useless to me. Why don't you surrender? There was no unnecessary nonsense, but various cracks appeared on Itachi's body in front of him, as if the light was like broken glass. Shiraishi chuckled when he saw this. Interesting. Suddenly, countless dark crows appeared under Uchiha Itachi's feet, and the 10-fist sword suddenly stabbed out from the ground. This kid hasn't given up yet. It turns out that the 10-fist sword has always been lying in wait at your feet. Faced with the powerful sealing power of the 10-fist sword, Shiraishi used the broken world of consciousness to condense the fragments of the surrounding world into a special huge wall of light. Ancient Crane Immortal Seal. The core of this move is to guard, protect the Ancient Crane Immortal Seal. It can perfectly block any first round of attacks. Even the 10-fist sword cannot have any impact on the Ancient Crane Immortal Seal. The mirror perfectly withstood the first blow of the 10-fist sword, and at the same time, the divine sword of heaven in Shiraishi's hand directly penetrated the entire Tsukuyomi world. A moment later, Itachi felt a sharp pain. After destroying everything in front of him with one sword, he saw that the Tsukuyomi world around Uchiha Itachi collapsed in an instant. Forcibly destroying this world of consciousness will cause certain damage to Shiraishi and Uchiha's mental power and consciousness, but Uchiha Itachi will suffer even more, because this world is condensed by his consciousness the moment he returned to the real world. Reading www.ukanshu.net. Although Itachi was still standing at this moment, blood continued to flow from his eyes. In the end, he couldn't hold on anymore, and he half knelt down and passed out. Uchiha, who came to his senses almost at the same time, also spat out a mouthful of blood. The fire of the sun that was burning and condensing around him was unable to maintain control and produced signs of self-destructive explosion. Oops. Thinking of the boy's criminal record in the Lowland Chamber of Commerce incident, Fugaku immediately took action. The fire sealing seals that had been prepared around him directly absorbed all the remaining fire of the sun. The chaotic sunshine energy and the terrifying radiation energy produced had already caused many Uchiha tribesmen to retreat a certain distance. Just when they thought Uchiha's sunshine fire would attack Itachi, the two appeared looking at each other. Falling together just by looking at each other, the two of them suffered a lose-lose outcome. Could it be that they had just engaged in the most dangerous confrontation in the spiritual world of illusions? Fugaku, who also possesses the main Jekai Sharingan, naturally noticed that the two people's eye power was extremely depleted, especially his son Itachi's life was now in danger. Chapter 332, we are Navy, but we are also pirates. The collapse of the Tsukuyomi world caused a backlash of mental power, which directly made Uchiha Itachi unconscious. At the same time, Uchiha Kid also suffered great side effects. Fortunately, the existence of the 5 symbols of the heavenly curse allowed the pain to be equally divided among the 5 people. As the practice deepens, the wonders of the 5 symbols of heavenly curse become more and more obvious. Although the 4 split bodies have different cultivation progress and strength, they can continue to harmonize each other's wills through communication in the world of thinking. To be precise, the 5 symbols of heavenly curse must be practiced together with this huge world of consciousness fusion, so that even if 5 people do not have the same samsara, they can still have the same perspective and thinking point if one day it is necessary. The 4 clones will cooperate with Shiraishi to fight, and the combat power will probably be far beyond the ordinary 1+1 mode. Ghostlight Heiya held the ruler with a trace of worry in his eyes. Uchiha Itachi's strength has exceeded our estimate. The existence of the 10-fist sword and the 8-foot mirror is a great threat. What's more, he already knows the existence of the original body. Shiraishi didn't care about this. What would you do if you were Itachi Uchiha after the evidence was found that your clan had colluded with people from other villages? There was a serious gap between Itachi and his father Fugaku, and it was difficult for Itachi to expose Uchiha Kid's conspiracy without evidence. As for reporting this matter to the top management of Konoha, I'm afraid that not only Uchiha Kid is implicated, but the entire Uchiha family is suspected of colluding with Sunagakure. In fact, even Itachi now believes that the Uchiha clan and Sunagakure may have reached a secret agreement and cooperation. I feel that the night of genocide will be brought forward under the premise that the Uchiha clan will harm Konoha. He may report the matter to the top management of Konoha and even exterminate the Uchiha clan in advance. The Uchiha bleeds, but the top management of Konoha is almost unharmed. It is too uneconomical. Although it weakens the overall strength of Konoha, it makes them more united. Historically, the night of the Uchiha genocide happened 2 years after Shisu's death. In this era, Itachi used Obito to take the blame, which was supposed to resolve the misunderstandings and conflicts between the two parties, but now it seems to have made things worse. After pondering for a moment, Shiraishi made a judgment. Even if the night of genocide is advanced, we must try to expand the losses of both parties to weaken Konoha to the greatest extent. Fugaku's Kid tentatively asked him about his attitude towards cooperation with Sunagakure. Uchiha Fugaku is a rare calm Uchiha. Although he is bound by the interests of the entire family, he is actually calmer and more mature than Itachi and the others. Such a person can indeed be won over. However, Sunagakure still needs a large number of Sharingans. In addition to the biological cloning technology provided by Orochimaru, it is also necessary to incorporate certain cells and samples from various Uchiha tribesmen in order to cultivate a complete Sharingan. The Sharingan-ju, a ninja tool, is the key to us gaining the power that is blocked by the glasses system. This matter must be accelerated. In the Super Ninja tool created by Shiraishi, the power of the Sharingan Pearl can effectively amplify the other 4 split bodies, because the power of characteristics contained in it can help them break through the blockage of glasses and obtain the key to complete the inheritance of heaven and earth. The inheritance of the extraterrestrial skill system contained in the glasses system and the loss of the characteristic link will lead to the incomplete power of this system, and the existence of characteristics is deliberately blocked, fearing that this system has other purposes. The mother who has taken care of you for several years should make arrangements in advance to send her away from the village. Shiraishi knew very well that, although Uchiha Kid didn't say anything on the surface, in fact he still valued Uchiha's mother. In order to cause unnecessary trouble and resentment, Shiraishi was going to let Uchiha Kid arrange to send the mother away. In addition to Uchiha Kid's mother, there will also be a group of Uchiha clan members taken away. These people are direct descendants of the Uchiha Kid clan. Of course, the most important one is Uchiha Point compared with the calm situation on the surface, but the turbulent continental pattern on the inside, the fighting and confrontation between all parties at sea are much more dangerous. In order to promote the maritime grand strategy, Sunagakure's Navy Department is currently working with Kumo Ninja and Konoha in the waters of Bear Country and Uno Country. A fierce battle began. It is precisely because of the mutual confrontation between the major powers that various rebel ninja organizations have emerged in the original sea, and mercenary forces are madly attacking each other on the sea. Even part of the Navy was personally fought by Sunagakure's Naval Department. The Navy Department of Sunagakure Village flies the Navy Department flag on the sea on weekdays. However, once the warships arrive in the waters of Uno Country and Bear Country, they will remove the Navy Department flag and replace it with the pirate flag and directly attack those stationed there. The Kumo Ninja attacked the Konoha base and robbed property. This crazy bloody expansion policy was carried out under the instruction of Shiraishi during the Morimoto Ryoji era. Even the current Navy Marshal Nagase Bizan did not stop this crazy plundering expansion strategy, and he ordered the Navy Ministry to continue this predatory activity. Continues a few months later. Outside the waters of the Bear Country, a battleship slowly approached. Although it was hoisted with a special flaming skull and crossbones flag, judging from the surface of the battleship, it was a standard naval battleship of Sunagakure. I have a grandfather, and he has always wanted to see me put on this Navy uniform. But if he knew that this Navy and pirate identity can be switched at any time, he would probably beat me away. Master. Ace's grandfather seems to be a very strict man. Several girls in Navy uniforms with long knives at their waists accompanied Ace. These are the backbone of the Navy's frontline combat troops. Although most of them are girls, their actual combat and fighting abilities are by no means worse than those of the ordinary ninjas native to Sunagakure. It's more than harsh, it's a nightmare. Grandpa must be very sad now. Mentioning his grandfather, Ace suddenly thought, had that guy Luffy escaped safely again? There were too many things to worry about, making Ace never want to return to his original world. But unfortunately, it was too difficult to travel between the two worlds, and it would be very difficult without the help of any Kazekage. Before returning to the original world, you should practice more. Thinking of Akanu's last punch, Ace felt a dull pain in his chest. His strength was still not strong enough, and he had to improve his combat effectiveness as soon as possible before going back. Lord Ace, the target of this mission is a star ninja village in the country of bears. Ace is no stranger to the country of bears. Reading www.ukanshunet. When he joined the Navy and sometimes became a pirate, he often invaded the base of the Bear Country and plundered a lot of strategic materials. During this period, he also fought against Konoha's ninjas. Ace didn't think that Zenjin was the #1 ninja village. No matter how strong he is, he can defeat his opponents easily. Don't be careless, Lord Ace. The blue-haired girl who announced the mission looked serious and corrected Ace's playful attitude, and then said seriously, that is the base camp of the Bear Country. In addition to the Konoha ninjas, there are also ninjas from the Star Ninja Village. Konoha arranged for the Hyuga clan in the Bear Country. Although he didn't know the Hyuga clan, Ace had seen most of the information and materials. He had never encountered this kind of special pupil opponent before, but he was looking forward to fighting with them. The Star Ninja Village, which possesses the peacock magic technique, is by no means an ordinary small ninja village. Although the goal of Shiraishi sending Ace this time is to seize the special training meteorite from the Star Ninja Village. This is also one of the core materials he needs to refine the Sharingan to build the Sharingan Pearl. PS. Navy pirates really don't separate their families. This is the history of the Age of Discovery. Chapter 333, Star Ninja Village Operation, Part 1. Sunagakure's operation against the Hoshi Ninja Village is a secret operation. In order to distract Konoha's attention, Sunagakure is currently launching a large-scale maritime operation in the waters of Uno Country in the north, with about 15 battleships as the core. The battle group formed went directly towards the kingdom of Tang in a mighty manner as a maritime fortress jointly protected by Kumo Ninja and Konoha. Uno Kuni has always been the focus of Sunagakure's attention. Every year, a large number of these warships under the banner of pirates regularly carry out attacks at sea. From the overall strategic perspective, the country of Yu is the core strategic place in the northern seas of Konoha and Kumanin, and the country of Bears is a hinterland of Konoha Sea. Both have the same status and importance. Although he was used to Sunagakure causing trouble every year in the kingdom of Yu, the Third Hokage was very cautious and carefully deployed personnel. The Uchiha clan took the initiative to recommend Uchiha Kid to accept the mission in the kingdom of Yu. Since Uchiha Kid quit the Anbu, he has basically been active in Konoha village as a guard. Konoha is indeed short of manpower at the moment. The main garrison area of the Hyuga clan is the country of Bears, and the strength of the Jounins in the country of Yu is limited, so it is difficult to contain Sand Hidden Point during the battle between Uchiha Kid and Uchiha Itachi. The news that both sides turned on the kaleidoscope at the same time naturally could not be hidden from the top management of Konoha. Therefore, in their internal evaluation, Uchiha Kid's strength was close to Itachi and the former Shizu. Since we currently lack sufficient combat power, it doesn't matter if we appoint the Uchiha clan. Danzo Shimura was unable to refute the words of the Third Hokage, but he still warned coldly, how much trust does the Uchiha clan have left now? Didn't Sunagakure send out a recruitment letter some time ago, and both Uchiha and Hinata received it? Fugaku has his own considerations, perhaps to protect himself. Danzo Shimura looked at an Anbu member outside the door. Then you can listen to the opinion of another Uchiha tribesman. The door slowly opened, and Uchiha Itachi wearing an Anbu mask was seen. After taking off the mask, he half knelt down to express his attitude. Although he has recovered from the battle in Tsukuyomi's conscious world, his face is still very pale and weak, completely different from the lean posture in the past. It is obvious that excessive use of the kaleidoscope caused this appearance. The power of the kaleidoscope is not that easy to control. Itachi, don't rely too much on the blood successor's power. Yes, thank you for your concern, Mr. Third Generation. Seeing the two people looking at each other and looking concerned about each other, Shimura Danzo was a little impatient and interrupted them. Then let's continue discussing the recruitment letter. The so-called recruitment letter is a similar immigration commitment letter signed by Shiraishi. Sunagakure is willing to accept, as long as it is a talent from the blood successor family. This letter of commitment was sent to the desks of the Hyuga clan, the Uchiha clan, and various families in Konoha above, showing Sunagakure's sincerity. Among them, Hinata and some of the families handed in the recruitment letter for Sunagakure, but Fugaku kept it, and did not hand it over. Instead, he destroyed it himself. This matter also violated taboos. Although the past misunderstanding between the two parties has been resolved, Fugaku's move is tantamount to increasing Konoha's suspicion. For Fugaku, the current situation of the Uchiha clan is still very dangerous. The deliberate ambiguity with Sunagakure is nothing more than adding a certain amount of chips to deal with the top management of Konoha. He may not have the intention to join Sunagakure. After the war, Uchiha Itachi, who had just woken up, naturally knew about this. After meeting Shiraishi in Tsukuyomi world, Itachi saw that his father was really having an affair with Sunagakure, and his heart suddenly sank. The thing he was most worried about happened. The driving force behind Uchiha Kid is indeed his father, and letting Uchiha Kid become the mission ninja of Yu country would lead to the leakage of intelligence secrets. Thinking of this, Uchiha Itachi immediately went to the Third Hokage, hoping to prevent this. That's why there was a scene at the meeting, where Danzo let Itachi in. The Third Hokage smoked a cigarette, looked at Itachi who was half kneeling, and said in a softer tone, "What's your reason, Itachi?" The Third Hokage's attitude toward Itachi was very amiable. After all, he was one of the few young geniuses who leaned towards Konoha. Although he was from the Uchiha clan, he cared about the entire village. Since he objected, the Third Hokage had to listen to his opinion. According to the investigation, Lochner of the Lowland Chamber of Commerce is the Kazekage himself, and he has already developed some kind of cooperative relationship with his father during the time he came to Konoha village. Uchiha Itachi finally decided to conceal everything that happened in the Tsukuyomi world. Although he was very loyal to Konoha, he had to keep his trump card of the 10-fist sword and the 8-foot mirror to avoid other accidents. Therefore, he had no choice but to inform the top management of Konoha about the Lowland Chamber of Commerce. After hearing this, the third Hokage was a little suspicious. Lochner has no sense of chakra at all. How could it be him? Shimura. Danzo rolled his eyes. He is currently the strongest being in the ninja world. It is not surprising that he has some special secret method to hide himself. What's more, the Lochner incident itself is weird. The land leased by the Lowland Chamber of Commerce is now purely used for commercial development. Although the past 3 generations of Hokages wanted to take back these lands, there were too many interests involved, and they could not take action directly. Although there is no evidence, Itachi, as a member of the Uchiha clan, naturally has more reliable persuasiveness than anyone else. The third Hokage was silent for a moment. Then the country of you will trouble you, Itachi, to go there. Yes, changing the previously recommended Uchiha key to Uchiha Itachi is equivalent to sending a signal to the entire Uchiha clan. Currently, the top management of Konoha only trusts Itachi. At this time, the 5th Kazekage Shiraishi was at home, holding a long sword transformed from the divine sword of heaven, and sitting cross-legged in the conference room. A huge C-map was displayed on the huge screen behind him. Reading www.ukanshu. Net. The incense burner under the screen was lit, exuding bursts of fragrance. Beishi, who had been silent for a long time, slowly opened his eyes. He didn't know when to retract the long knife in his hand, and there was a trace of solemnity in the silent air. To restrain one's murderous intention and concentrate one's explosive power on one point, it indeed requires more training time. Ninja Village, Bear Country. After putting down his sword, Shiraishi's eyes were fixed on the huge sea area map in front of him. Compared with Konoha, which was still having meetings and discussions, the navy he had arranged was currently heading towards the sea area according to his own arrangements. In addition to the navy department, several puppet dragons are currently on standby on the border of the core country. The new generation of puppet dragons are equipped with more powerful tail beast jade energy cannons, which are enough to directly blow up a mountain point. Although the outer barrier of the Star Ninja Village appears to have many puppet dragons, in fact, it is the interior that truly breaks down the outer barrier. The collapse of any strong defense starts from within. The Star Ninja Village has ambitions that are not its own, and it is seemingly inseparable from Konoha. There is no way to stop Sunagakure's progress. Chapter 334, Star Ninja Village Operation, Part 2. Star Ninja Village is one of the few legally existing ninja villages in Konoha's traditional power, the Bear Country. Although it is a ninja village, due to the control of Konoha, the entire ninja village is mainly an organization that practices ninjutsu and rarely participates in the ninja world. Various mission activities in addition, all tasks in the Bear Country are under the control of Konoha, so there are basically no task assignments in the Star Ninja Village, and they occasionally cooperate according to Konoha arrangements. These are regarded as a great shame and humiliation by the Star Ninja Village. They have been secretly saving their strength and waiting for time to counterattack Konoha. As the strongest people in the Star Ninja Village after the 3rd generation Hoshikage, Natsuhi Hoshi and Hotarumasu are also worried about the future of the Star Ninja Village. Hotarumasu expressed his current worries to his lover Natsuhi. Sunagakure's power is getting stronger and stronger, and sooner or later Konoha will not be able to protect it. By then, the Hoshi Ninja Village with the peacock magic will become a victim of the game between the great powers. Lord Hoshikage's wish has always been to surpass the 5 major countries and create an era that belongs to the Bear Country. But now the external situation has become like this. Sooner or later, Hoshikage Village will be involved in the disputes between the big powers. It is better to make plans early instead of pursuing this dream in vain. The 3 generations of Hoshikage rely on, firstly, the peacock magic, and secondly, the starfall barrier created by the Hoshinin village over the past decades. At this moment, the outer star barrier of Star Ninja Village is constructed from part of the fragmented star meteor, forming a special star barrier. Before the death of the 3rd generation Hoshikage, this powerful outer barrier of Star Ninja Village blocked many enemy attacks for them. For a long time, although the leader of the Star Ninja Village called himself Hoshikage, none of the 5 major ninja villages acknowledged or cared about it. They just regarded the Star Ninja Village as a joke. Although it is despised by the big powers, the starfall barrier naturally has its own unique features. Historically, this barrier has been used to prevent the bear country from being completely involved in the wars of the 5 great powers. But tonight, it was an uneasy night in the Star Ninja village. A loud bang shattered everyone's sleep. The terrifying high altitude screams resounded throughout the sky, causing many ninjas in the entire Star Ninja village to wake up from their dreams. In the distant sky, several giant puppet dragons were seen rising into the sky. With a terrifying sound of activating airflow, they rushed towards the village at high speed. They immediately ejected a tailed beast jade energy beam that destroyed everything and exploded directly in the sky above the Star Ninja village. The violent explosion produced a bright light on the Starfall barrier. The dazzling shattering sparks dispersed, and a tiny energy crack appeared in the sky above the Starfall barrier. The destructive power of a tailed beast jade strike is so terrifying that even a powerful barrier cannot withstand it. It's Sunagakure's puppet dragon, Hinata. Hisashi, who was stationed locally, looked at the terrifying creatures high in the sky with a sudden change of expression. He did not expect that Sunagakure would choose this time to attack the Hoshi Ninja village. Is it rare that they are planning a new round of ninja war? But even so, does Konoha have the courage and determination to start a new round of life and death battle with Sunagakure? Thinking of this, Hinata and Hisashi feel a little helpless. I'm afraid that according to the current situation in Konoha, there is nothing that can be done to change this, and they can only let Sunagakure press forward step by step. Under the dragon's crazy offensive, the barrier of the Star Ninja village began to become unstable. Under the powerful light, Konoha's ninjas responded quickly and opened a special barrier to maintain it, forming a second round of barriers inside the Star Ninja village. The second round of enchantment has opened. Ace looked at the huge barrier in the distance and was speechless. This puppet dragon sprayed out energy beams, which was really powerful. Of course, the Star Ninja barrier was also a very magical protective measure. It could block such a powerful tailed beast jade. Is this the protective barrier of Ninja village? The blue-haired female subordinate Das on the side pushed up her glasses. Unfortunately, Konoha and that Hoshikage probably never imagined that when the second round of barrier is opened, it will be the beginning of the destruction of the entire Hoshi Ninja village. As soon as the blue-haired girl Das finished speaking, she saw that the Starfall barrier and the protective barrier created by the Hyuga clan actually conflicted with each other's energy magnetic fields. At this moment, the entire barrier suddenly shattered. How so? Someone has tampered with the Starfall barrier. Could it be that there is an undercover agent of Sunagakure inside the Star Ninja village? Just as Hinata Hayashi expected, Hotaru Mars suddenly took action, and the peacock magic turned into countless energy beams and shone on the Hoshi ninjas, binding them. Yingming, Mars, Natsuhi Hoshi. For the future of Hoshi Ninja village, I have to cooperate with Sunagakure. From the beginning, Hotaru Mars has taken refuge in Sunagakure as an internal agent of the Bear Country. In addition to Hotaru Mars, many high-level officials in the Bear Country have also secretly taken refuge in Sunagakure. Therefore, as soon as the battle began, the Hoshi Ninja village fell apart. As the barrier was broken, the ninjas from the Navy Department quickly invaded the Hoshi Ninja village, including Iroquois Kashiwa, Murasaki and others. After Iroquois Kashiwa decided to join the Navy, two companions, Tamako and Murasaki, not only supported their partner's decision, but also joined the Navy and continued to fight side by side with Iroquois Kashiwa. During this period of training, the three little guys have reached Chunin level strength, especially Iroquois Kashiwa, who has the blood of the third generation of sand release. He has practiced magnet release and released a huge black iron sand magnet. A sharp palm wind came towards me, instantly shattering the magnetic escape. Under the surprised look of Iroquois Kashiwa, I saw the strong man of the Hyuga family, Hinata, take action. The second palm wind struck, directly disintegrating Zeluo's active enhancement mode, directly repelling 3 genin. Roll your eyes. Magnetic release. It is indeed Sunagakure. When Hinata Hisashi stared at a group of sand ninjas opposite him, including Iroquois Kashiwa, a fire fist descended from the sky and struck with domineering power. Hinata Hisashi immediately used the secret technique of the Hyuga clan, Bagwa's Hankation. At the moment of being attacked, a large amount of soft fist chakra is released from the chakra acupuncture points in the body, and then rotates in a circular motion like a top, which can rebound all physical attacks. Coupled with its own rotation and Byakugan's strong observation ability, it becomes an alternative and absolute defense point. However, the flame energy carried by Ace's punch clashed strongly with Hinata and Hinata's Kaiten. Reading www.ukanshu.net as the energies of both sides impacted each other and wreaked havoc. Ace clicked his tongue several times. If one punch doesn't work, then punch again. In an instant, Fire Fist Ace quickly punched out a second time. The flame fist taught by Shiraishi combined with his own fire release immortal body to suddenly release a more intense high temperature fist point, seeing the flames in Ace's hand turn into a pillar of fire, exploding in the sky above the Star Ninja village. You continue to act according to the mission. I'm responsible for handling it here. Yes, Hinata. His zoo was wrapped in huge flames. Although he had Kaiten defense, the high temperature of the flames still made him extremely embarrassed and suffered heavy injuries. Such a powerful fire escape technique has never appeared in the Sunagakure ninja information. For a while, Hinata were in a dilemma. Izu's question was answered directly by several young girl subordinates holding short swords. Lord Ace is the new admiral of the Navy Department. Chapter 335. The Power of Fire Fist. Fire Fist Ace's attack method is very rough, and there are no fancy ninjutsu in it, but the 3-axe-like Fire Fist attack still makes Hinata Hisashi complain. Flames swept across, and Hyuga Hisashi once again used the Kaiten style of the Hyuga clan to force the fire back, when the Sand Ninja Admiral named Fire Fist Ace struck with another punch. As if he was tireless, Ace's punches and kicks tore through the airflow, making a crisp sound that was very rhythmic, ferocious, and crazy, as if a violent storm was coming. When the attack was in full swing, each blow became more terrifying, and the style was booming. Just like a rolling torrent, roaring and rushing, condescending, drowning everything. Fighting like this feels very comfortable, and the opponent is simply a qualified sandbag, allowing Ace to use various Fire Fist attacks. Armed haki can barely be used in this world, and combined with his own fire release sensible body, Ace's fire fists are no less destructive than when he has the burning fruit. Coupled with his strong body and special perception, he can suppress Hinata. The war became more and more frightening. At the same time, inside the Hoshi Ninja village, facing Sunagakure's attack, most of the Hoshi Ninja surrendered with almost no resistance. In addition, the main force of Konoha is currently on the Uno countryside, and the Bear country's defense is indeed weak. At this time, the remaining Konoha ninjas in the Star Ninja village began to gather in the direction of Hizu. Seeing this, the flames in Ace's hands quickly spread from the ground, turning into a domineering wall of fire blocking the path of the Konoha ninja's fire release Yanshangang. Although he lost the Sheo fruit, Ace's fire control physique still existed, so during this period of resumption of practice, he gradually developed various moves that he had mastered in the past. One of them is the move Yanshangzuna. In this world, there are similar techniques in fire escape. As Ace, who once turned into flames and burned himself, understanding this fire control escape technique has an innate advantage over ordinary fire escape ninjas. As soon as Inigo Mitsuna appeared, Konoha was in chaos. At this time, Ace's hands turned into sun flames, and his hands seemed to turn into two flaming blades, and he directly attacked Hinata and Hinata again. In the fist and kick confrontation, the special physical skills of the Hyuga clan are very protective. However, during the close combat, Hyuga Hizu sadly discovered that the Hyuga clan's chakra meridians blocked acupuncture points, which had little effect on this man with a monster-like physical fitness in the Byakugan activation mode. Hinata Hisashi has noticed that all the meridians in this person's body, and even the places where chakra is condensed, are burning with natural fire energy. On the contrary, there is not much chakra, and the energy he shoots blocks chakra. Killer acupuncture point, but will soon be devoured by the fire in the body. At the same time, in actual combat, this opponent's physical fitness is like a rock. To use acupoints to penetrate the meridians in his body requires 10 times the strength of an ordinary person. Obviously, the physical quality of humans coming from the world of pirates has a serious restraint on the Hyuga family's acupuncture technique in this world. Although Ace is not a particularly fleshy warrior, he is the strongest fleshly warrior in this world. The bursting impact airflow raged across the scene. Faced with Ace's violent attack, Hinata and Hinata finally lost and retreated a few steps, vomiting blood. His Usama, as a member of a separate family, he is the biological brother of the clan leader, Hyuga Hisashi. The members of the Hyuga clan present are particularly respectful to Hisashi. Seeing Hyuga and Hisashi in crisis, these people risked their lives to cross the firewall, only to see the burning green flames projected from the hand. This is Firefly fire-bodied armor. Green fireflies floated over many Konoha ninjas, and then Fire Fist Ace closed his hands, causing a violent explosion in an instant. This technique is more difficult than ordinary fire escape, but after this period of development and practice, Ace was finally able to successfully perform it. The explosion power is average, but it is suitable for group battles. As Hyuga and Hisashi were retreating, they saw Ace burning with terrifying flames, dancing wildly in the air with every move. The sounds of fists and kicks around him subsided, and his fists were shot out as fast as thunder. Hinata Hisashi just wanted to dodge, but saw that Ace's punch was deceitful. After the impact of the right fist, the left fist that really gathered power came out again. The two took over, leaving almost no gaps, weaving a web of consecutive attacks. Damn it, stop looking down on people. As soon as the two collided, the strength of Ace's right arm increased again. His body was like a spring, and he recovered it, borrowing the majestic flame energy. The surrounding area seemed to be burning with a pillar of terrifying high temperature fire, and he shot out as fast as a meteor, facing a new round of attacks. Hyuga Hisashi lowered his shoulders, crossed his left arm, and blocked the punch. However, each time Fire Fist Ace's fist exploded, it became more violent than the last time. This time, it finally exceeded the critical point of Hinata and Hinata, and the violent power of Fire Fist directly defeated Hinata. Boom. Hinata Hisashi was vomiting blood, as if he had been hit by a bomb. He felt that every joint, skin and muscle in his body was in shock, and he was temporarily unable to exert force. The burning flames devoured his cells, making him more and more powerless as he fought. Surrender. You have no chance of winning. You humiliating us. As Hinata Hisashi spoke, his body exploded with the last of his strength, and a burst of energy erupted from his body. He used his hands to wave a stronger Bagua chain palm, blocking Ace's fist point as the fists struck each other. Ace felt a majestic force for the first time. He could no longer maintain his center of gravity, and stumbled sideways and backwards with the force point. Hinata, whose potential exploded in the face of the crisis, stepped on his foot, and jumped out suddenly. He was in front of Ace in the blink of an eye. His muscles bulged, and he used his entire body as a weapon to give Ace the final blow. How could I admit defeat here? Facing the explosion of Hinata and Hinata, Fire Fist Ace's fighting spirit increased again. As he surrounded himself with armed domineering energy, the surrounding flames once again condensed into a meteor that cut through the sky and hit the ground. Ace, who used his fire escape sage body, tightened his muscles, and the terrifying flames suddenly exploded, pushing him horizontally to move 2 steps, causing Hinata and Hinata to hit the air, and could only explode the airflow point after narrowly dodging Hinata and Hinata's close blows. Ace did not turn around. He touched his feet, straightened his right arm, and twitched to the side, hitting Hinata and Hinata's head directly. The light of the explosion hit the battlefield. Hinata and Hinata's head couldn't bear the force, and his face exploded. He fell to the ground with blood on his face, and passed out. Close combat is always the most dangerous battle. Ace's explosion just now directly knocked down Hinata and Hisashi. The fire fist burned in Ace's hand, and then the wall of fire burned crazily and raged in the sky. Konoha finally chose to retreat. As for the unlucky Hinata Hisashi, he was directly hit by the fire fist and suffered a concussion in this battle, and his consciousness was confused. Later, after Sunagakure captured him, he was imprisoned in the naval base. After all, Hinata Hisashi's brother would be a valuable prisoner. Chapter 336, Sharingan Test. The invasion of the Hoshi ninja village has been over for several days. Although Konoha issued a note severely reprimanding Sunagakure for his actions, there was no follow-up action. In fact, Sunagakure has now completely evacuated the Bear Country Point during this invasion. The third generation Hoshikage of the Star Ninja Village still died due to the poison of the Starfall, but Firefly Mars took over as the leader of the Star Ninja Village Point. After becoming the leader of the Hoshi Ninja Village, Hotaru Mars did not call himself the fourth Hoshikage. Instead, he regarded himself as the leader of an ordinary village. This attitude was unanimously recognized by the top leaders of the 5 major shinobi villages. After all, the arrogant self-proclaimed shadow has always caused the outside world to have a low reputation for the Star Ninja Village, and the name of this shadow has also caused the Star Ninja Village to suffer for many years. However, the next incident had a far-reaching impact. The Hoshi Ninja Village directly announced an alliance with Sunagakure and established a military alliance. The top management of Konoha directly exploded. This incident in the Star Ninja Village was first caused by a problem with the intelligence, which caused most of Konoha's power to be invested in the country of Yu. Secondly, the ninjas resident in the Star Ninja Village failed to fulfill their responsibilities, especially Hyuga Hisashi. Captured by the enemy, he was made the scapegoat. However, considering that the Uchiha clan still exists, it is not easy for Hinata and others who are close to the wealthy families of Konoha to be too harsh. Therefore, they did not directly convict Hinata and Hibiscus. They just hope that the Hyuga family can contribute more to Konoha in the future. As for the Bear Country, it is completely unacceptable to fall into the hands of Sunagakure now. Compared with the Karakuri country, the Bear Country is barren and poor because it is too close to the Konohagakure mainland, so it has been secretly suppressed over the years. Now, due to the invasion of Sunagakure, the Hoshi Ninja Village broke away from Konoha's control, and then such an incident happened, which made Konoha suddenly embarrassed. At the same time, at the port of Bear Country, Sunagakure's navy was still on the shore. Although Sunagakure withdrew from the Star Ninja Village, a base was established not far from the Star Ninja Village. Its purpose is self-evident. The loss of the Star Ninja Village in the Bear Country will completely anger Konoha. Then, I will look forward to the wrath of Konoha. I'm not afraid of the new ninja war. Sunagakure's indifference and Konoha's anger made the situation in Konoha extremely tense at the end of the 53rd year, and there was a strong trend that the Ninja World War was about to break out again. Even if the third Hokage no longer wants to fight, the losses to the Bear Country are unbearable. Konoha was also in chaos due to this incident, and was forced to mobilize a large amount of materials and forces to invest in the Bear Country area. Seeing that Konoha was about to fight with Sunagakure, the Iwa Ninja, Kumo Ninja, and even the Kiri Ninja intervened in the incident, hoping that both parties would mediate. All parties are afraid of a new round of ninja war. After all, the third war just ended a few years ago, and the fourth war will start again, and no country or country can bear it. The parties once again sat at the negotiating table to discuss. At the same time, Konoha controlled all the western areas of the Bear Country, while the eastern part of the Hoshi Ninja Village was occupied by Sunagakure. Basically, the fate of the Bear Country is similar to that of the Konoha Country, but the necessary wrangling discussions will still continue, so Sunagakure is also taking its time to send people to negotiate with Konoha. Is this the starfall of the Star Ninja Village? In the Kazekage office, Shiraishi studied the special meteorite in front of him, with a different kind of brilliance in his eyes. This special activated chakra attribute star meteorite is composed of fragments of meteorites from outside the sky, but this one is a complete product. Special electromagnetic fluctuations are constantly scanning the entire meteorite surface. After a large amount of data and analysis are released, Shiraishi is ready to analyze the special materials inside the meteorite. I thought it would be related to the Ten-Tails, but now it seems to be another extraterrestrial substance. This world, including creatures in outer space and various planets, are actually products of the same general system, so things from outer space will also have an impact on chakra. In this case, let's test it. The scroll slowly opened, and the 3 Magatama Sharingan of the former Uchihas suddenly appeared. After collecting Sharingan cells over the years, Shiraishi has been cultivating new cells in the research room. The new Sharingan that has been successfully cultivated has also most of the Magatama. Among them, Uchiha Shizu has half of the main Gekkai Sharingan. The cultivated Sharingan has 3 Megatama levels. Therefore, these Sharingan are very important experimental materials, but today Shiraishi decided to use the Uchiha's Sharingan for other tests the moment he formed the seal with his hands. Countless formation runes flashed with powerful energy beams. During the shrouding process, Shiraishi used the peacock technique to combine with inorganic reincarnation, perfectly combining Uchiha-chan's Sharingan with the power of the falling stars in an instant. The meteorite released a special radiant light, and Uchiha-zan's Sharingan appeared with countless bloodshot eyes, connecting with the surface of the meteorite. In an instant, the pair of Sharingan eyes reflected a strange scarlet light point with the experience of Uchiha-kid main Gekyo Sharingan. Shiraishi clearly felt that these 3 Megatama Sharingan also have their own characteristics on the feature interface of the glasses system. A message about unlocking the mental power and compound eye features suddenly appeared, and then a system error occurred, unable to confirm whether the host had the feature. Screen point. This is the same situation as before, when Uchiha-kid awakened the main Gekyo Sharingan and several characteristics appeared. Although corresponding instructions appeared in the system, it was impossible to determine whether the host had it. It is obvious that without the characteristics awakened in Shiraishi, the glasses system cannot actively judge. However, since the unlocking screen appears, Shiraishi can naturally read the corresponding instructions and messages. The mental power characteristic is a very simple explanation, that is, by training the spirit, you will not flinch due to the opponent's attack. Reading www.ukanshu.net. The second characteristic, the compound eye, is to enhance your own hit rate point. Although these 2 characteristics are simple, they are of certain help to Shiraishi's own strength point. The Sharingan that awakens the characteristics is at least the level of 3 Megatama. Then Shiraishi introduced the cloned 3 Megatama Sharingan configured in the laboratory using hydrostatic cells into the meteorite, but found that the characteristics were not awakened, but it was also connected to the meteorite's surface. I have to say that from a visual point of view, the scene where the meteorite and the Sharingan are connected by blood is a bit disgusting, but Shiraishi can notice that, although he does not have the characteristics of the awakened Sharingan, he is still interested in Uchiha-zan's pair of 3 Megatama Sharingan eyes. Pupil technique has been greatly enhanced. The original version of the Sharingan can awaken its characteristics, and the cloned version can be amplified. In addition, under the control of the meteorite, it can perform some secret techniques of the Sharingan, but if used too much, it will be directly scrapped. A successful 3 Megatama Sharingan is based on countless failed products. The current yield is not high, so the 3 Megatama level Sharingan that Shiraishi can clone is also very limited. As for the first Megatama and the second Megatama Sharingan, although they also have the ability to increase their power, their effect is very small. Chapter 337, Sword of 8000 Flows. In the 54th year of Konoha, after experiencing great turmoil in the previous year, this year seemed calm. Although the negotiations between Sunagakure and Konoha about the Bear Country are still continuing, the current situation is that about a quarter of the eastern part of the Bear Country includes Hoshi ninjas. The area within the village is all under Sunagakure's control. Hyuga Hisashi was also released as a scapegoat for the defeat, although he bore the main responsibility for the defeat. In fact, the top management of Konoha did not criticize Hyuga Hisashi too much. This is also for the sake of the Hyuga clan, but the gossip among ordinary villagers in the village has not stopped. Father, why are they like this? Hyuga Niji looked angrily at the discussions of the surrounding villagers, and when he wanted to rush forward to argue, he was held back by Hyuga Hisashi. Seeing his son's impulsive mood, Hisashi shook his head. Niji, they were right. It was my fault that I couldn't defend the Bear Country and the Star Ninja village. Regarding his father's words, Hinata Niji blushed, but the incident in Hoshi Ninja village was a battle plan prepared by Sunagakure long ago. The village's senior officials made a mistake in judging Sunagakure's movements, but they made you endure all this. Who told you this? Looking at his father's gaze, Hyuga Niji showed a hint of fear. He did not expect his father's gaze to be so severe. It's brother Uchiha-kid. He is a discerning person in the village. He can see the filth of Konoha's top brass at a glance. When It came to Uchiha Kid. A hint of surprise flashed in Hinata Hisashi's eyes, and he chose to tell his son deliberately that this Uchiha boy was really very active. Looking at his son, who was a little nervous, Hinata Hisashi comforted him softly. Father is not blaming you. I just hope that you can calm down and not be incited by others. Otherwise, what is the difference between you and those villagers? The top management of Konoha did not make things difficult for Hisashi, and even received a lot of preferential treatment after returning to the village. The Uchiha and Hyuga clans treated each other differently, which means that the top management of Konoha is still mainly on guard against Uchiha. The current situation in Konoha is difficult, especially after the Kumo ninja intervened in the incident. The main area of the Bear Country. It turned out that at the end of Konoha 53, the Kumo ninja took the initiative to intervene in the matter as a mediator and station troops in the northern part of the Bear Country. The mastermind of this incident was Minato Higuraromo. The troops he led directly advanced to control the northern region of the Bear Country without receiving orders from the Raikage. However, the troops stationed in Sunagakure did not resist and chose to retreat directly. Hagoromo Shinto was forced to retire from Sunagakure, and the reputation of this genius of the Hagoromo clan gradually spread from the northern continent to all parts of the ninja continent. However, because of this incident, the Raikage was very embarrassed to face the high-level officials of Konoha. Konoha does not think that this is Sunagakure's retreat out of fear of the Kumo ninja. It is obviously some secret agreement reached between the Raikage and the Kazekage, which caused the Kumo ninja to control the northern part of the Bear Country and further put pressure on Konoha. This incident caused great pressure on the Third Kazekage, and even now the situation in the Bear Country is more complicated and treacherous than in the past. But the alliance with the Kumo ninja cannot be interrupted because of this. Even Danzo Shimura understands that the Konoha family cannot compete with the current Sunagakure. As for the fourth Raikage, he was also very unhappy. This feeling of being plotted by Higuraromo Manto made him very angry, but he couldn't let it happen. This incident greatly boosted the morale of the village. This was the result of the Kumo no Kuni incident that had caused the Kumo ninja to hold back for many years. So far, only a few have been able to save face. The Raikage also secretly cursed Sunagakure for being cunning and deliberately retreating to create a crisis of distrust between his side and Konoha's cooperation. Sincerely, the overall structure of the Bear Country has basically been formed, but because Kumo ninja intervened in the Bear Country at this time, there was a rift between Konoha and Kumo ninja in their cooperation in the country of Yu. And there was a certain atmosphere of distrust between the two parties. Shiraishi ignored the struggles between the big powers with their own evil intentions. For more than a year, his main focus was on the new Dragon Vein energy reserves. After preparation, the power of the Dragon Veins was greatly increased. After Konoha 54 to the beginning of Konoha 55, the power of the Dragon Vein has finally completed preliminary debugging. Compared with the last time we obtained Ace, this time the coordinate world is calculated to need to reserve more Dragon Vein energy. If it were not for the existing technology, the level rises, otherwise it will not be possible to cross the world barrier for the second time for at least 3 years. As for the last memory fragments, they were sorted out some time ago, so the world coordinates in the mirror were perfectly presented again. It is the same as the preparation for crossing the barrier for the first time. To break through the space barrier, the power of the Dragon Veins that needs to be mobilized is almost massive. Stable energy connection can increase the maintenance time by more than 1 second. But unlike before, he prepared a deep sea mithril glove. This time, Shiraishi prepared a small regenerative core system. Compared with the technology 2 years ago, it is already a 9th generation regenerative core. It can store more than 10,000 times the energy and data of the first generation. This specially made regeneration core has stronger energy and can effectively stabilize the connection between the two worlds. After collecting data from the opposite world, the system can self-update to improve performance. The shape design of the 6-sided mirror is actually an upgraded version of Feiyujing. As Shiraishi's strength has been continuously improving over the years, the puppet technique mainly uses a water silk chakra root. Feiyujing, a big killer weapon, has already been handed over to Shirogakiji control. As for Shiraishi's body, the auxiliary puppets he uses are small silver sand pyramids containing regeneration cores. The function of the data system in the regeneration core is very close to that of the glasses system. Although compared to this pair of glasses that can travel through multiple worlds and can be upgraded and adjusted by itself, the system of this regeneration core is much weaker, but it can also absorb a certain amount of souls. Use it as a system control object and upgrade it for yourself. This regenerative nuclear gem will also interpret the power system of the new world and then transform it as locally as possible. Then, let's get started. The regeneration core system in Shiraishi's eyes was connecting with the entire sea base system. The surrounding sky suddenly tore open. The seven treasures tree, which had been prepared for a long time, was projected out of Shiraishi's hand and turned into a cloud of color in midair under the powerful light. There is an unknown world opposite the huge black hole that was torn apart. Using the same method as last time, only two-dimensional holes were suddenly shot out. One of the dimensional holes merged into the huge dark crack and then appeared in the world on the other side. The moment the regenerative nuclear system was dropped into the opposite world, it seemed to cause a violent space vibration. The principle of equal exchange is activated again. However, this time, you read www.uakshu.net. What appeared from the world on the other side was not a corpse, but a long knife, a very ordinary long knife with a purple handle. Doesn't seem to be anything special, but if it appears here in a situation where it can be exchanged with its own regeneration core at an equal price, there must be something special about it. On the previous mirror, the same as the last fire fist mark, a special compassion mark appeared. Although it was indicated as a mark with the word CI, it was full of domineering killing methods. This mark is completely different from Ace's mark style. Beishi slowly stepped forward and tried to grab the knife in front of him. However, the moment he grabbed the knife, a surge of murderous intent swept through his body. The extremely cold and terrifying killing concept made him feel a little dazed for a moment. At some point, an extremely fierce killing intent was projected from the sword body. Shiraishi suddenly discovered that this sword was not an ordinary ninja tool or weapon, but had a certain special spirituality. To enter the Tao by killing. In an instant, Shiraishi's eyes flashed with cold light, and the regeneration core began to scan the entirety of this special weapon, and he soon noticed something was wrong. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338, The Flower of Mao. The domineering and strong killing intent on the blade surrounded Beishi, forming a substantial cage. The moment Beishi frowned, a trace of Killian fluctuations occurred around him. However, under the regenerative nuclear scan, it was unexpectedly found that the concentration of spiritual bodies around the blade was much thicker, far greater than that of ordinary deceased people. If the concentration of the soul and spirit body produced after the death of an average person is one measurement unit, then the concentration around this knife now reaches more than 10,000. It is simply not like an ordinary spirit body, but a brand new life form that transcends the spirit body. Could it be said that even the body was gone this time? Thinking of this, countless metal pyramids surrounded him, forming a special scanning light to analyze the concentration of spiritual bodies around the knife from a multi-dimensional angle. A long-haired female ghost-like figure soon appeared in front of Shiraishi. Compared to Ace last time, the problem with this woman was that her spirit body collapsed, and from Shiraishi's observation, she seemed to be a special spirit creature, so she relied on the energy of the world. He fell in time, but still retained such terrifying power. This time he really found an extraordinary person. This strange long knife fell into a killing formation the moment Beishi held it. The moment the murderous intent broke out, the murderous intent raged forward, directly pushing towards Beishi's position, forming an airtight killing array. To cure such a being, its spirit body must be repaired. While Beishi was pondering, he suddenly remembered that perhaps his heavenly curse and 5 symbols technique could cure the spirit body in front of him. The core essence of the heavenly curse 5 symbols technique is to parasitize the incomplete soul on a new host. If one part of the technique is split, and the spirit body parasitism link is used directly, the woman in front of him may be cured. Thinking of the white stone forming a seal quickly, there was an impressive amount of dust under his feet. In the process, a special ice-covered coffin slowly rose up. The moment the frozen coffin was opened, a young female body appeared. It was the former female jounin of Shirogakure village. After Shiraishi killed her, her body had been kept here for a search on ice release and other combinations of blood cells. Destruction now also has a new purpose. Different from Shiraishi's heavenly curse and 5 symbols technique, which involves splitting and reincarnation. The heavenly curse and 5 symbols technique performed this time as a heaven-defying curse and 5 symbols technique, which reintegrates the soul into one body and transfers it to the body. Under normal circumstances, it is difficult for a soul to be resurrected after leaving its original body. The reason is that the spirit body disintegrates little by little, or it goes directly to the Pure Land world to be purified. But the current situation is a special case, because the concentration of the spiritual body is too strong, even beyond what the ordinary physical body can withstand. So Shiraishi chose Ji, who has the ice escape blood inheritance, as the physical body. Countless black words appeared around Li's body. The moment a part of the spirit body was introduced into the body, the physical body was about to collapse. Even if there was ice escape to suppress it, it would be of no avail. No, it must be stabilized, thinking that the white stone stimulates inorganic reincarnation, and the powerful power of the immortal is poured into the ice escaped body. Although the cells receive a certain activation blessing, it is still unable to withstand such a huge spirit body. Give wood escape cells a try as a last resort. Shiraishi injected a small part of the wood escape cells that Orochimaru had asked for into his body. In an instant, the ice escape and wood escape powers conflicted with each other, causing the body in front of him to be almost unable to bear it. Just when it was about to collapse, that special weapon, the sword, suddenly released a sharp sword light with killing intent, covering his body. Pure sword killing intent to stabilize the body. Is it possible that the operation, which is not scientific at all, was because the body could not bear it before, because it was not adapted to the strong enough killing intent, the powerful murderous intention from the blade, poured into Li's body, which actually stabilized the body? Most of the spiritual bodies introduced into his body entered the blade at the same time, while a small part entered the blade. The last seal of the 5 symbols of the heaven-defying curse was condensed on Beishi's finger. When he pointed it at the moment, countless memories flashed out on the mirror, but compared to Ace's original memory, the amount of memory at this moment was huge. Does this level of memory mean that it has survived for at least 1,000 years, comparable to old monsters like Raichi Cave and Myomu Mountain? God created the world and then abandoned it. A human world, if it loses a manager like God, will become so disordered. Demons will swarm around, and evil souls will devour those with weak consciousness, making them puppets of the demons, causing all life to be devastated. After a long period of chaos and darkness, God couldn't stand it anymore, so he created a new world to manage the human world, causing the dead souls to go to the world where they belong, scattering the evil spirits and allowing the good souls to after death. The human world also changes from disorder to balance. Those who perform these tasks are the lowest gods. They seal sinful souls into hell, raise good souls to heaven, and even select outstanding souls to become one of them. These people call it death. However, due to the emergence of the god of death and the soul society, hell began to fluctuate. The god of death has taken over their work, and they can no longer snatch souls from the human world as they did before. The Soul Society has become the arbiter of hell at some point, because they control the number of souls that enter hell. In order to enhance the strength of hell, they also created a small space and a virtual world. They polluted the captured souls, thereby controlling their minds, and forming a kind of monster. The person in her memory was an unprecedented villain in the history of Soul Society. She claimed to master all the schools and sword styles in the world, and named herself the 8,000 styles. However, the memory picture changed. Thousands of years later, this powerful 8,000 Ryu swordsman had a gentle and peaceful appearance. He had long black hair parted in the middle, which was tied into a braid, and hung down in front of him. The light on Beishi's fingers gradually dissipated, and at the moment when the heaven-defying curse and 5 symbols technique ended, a soft voice was heard. A very miraculous healing technique that can actually repair a collapsed spirit body. Ah, you regaining consciousness so soon? In front of her eyes, her appearance has changed drastically. Her ice blue hair has turned directly into the jet black in her memory. However, unlike the light-colored belt that is fixed with a red rope around her waist, she has now untied her braid on her chest. His expression and momentum are also completely different from those in his memory. So, where is this place, and what is your purpose in resurrecting me? The tone was extremely cold. The woman named Yachiru, from the moment she was resurrected, you can shoot www.ukanat exuded an aura that no one should enter. It was obvious that in this killing state, she was even stronger than Shiraishi. Generate a certain amount of pressure. Purpose. Do you have to ask about the purpose of anything you do? Shiraishi's answer made her frown. She held the soul-cutting sword in her hand for a moment, and a solemn killing intent enveloped the sea area, directly locking on Shiraishi's whole body point. Although the spiritual power exists, it is extremely weak and recovers very slowly. It is impossible to easily use Kid and release the soul-cutting sword. Shunpo and swordsmanship have little effect, and the human in front of him is very strong point. In addition, this body does not look like a prosthetic skeleton, but more like a living body point, introducing one's own soul into the physical body to achieve a special method of resurrecting the dead, and his soul-killing sword just cooperated to a certain extent to allow himself to be reborn so easily. Point. After she was resurrected, she didn't trust Shiraishi because the look on his face reminded her of that guy Aizen. My name is Aoki Shiraishi. What's your name? 8,000 Flowers of Mao Chapter 339. My sister is just 4. Unohana Yasenryu, a woman also known as Unohana Ritsu, suddenly danced with the sword in her hand. The speed of the sword she used turned into extreme speed, creating a strange attack angle. Point. The involuntary attack forced Shiraishi to defend. The moment the Dragon Seal Sage mode was activated, his own perception ability was greatly improved. Point. Immortal method. Big sand blasting. A huge mouthful of sand spurted out, forming an airtight magnetic escape attack, but the latter's sharp edge actually cut through the magic created by Beishi. Point. Pure taijutsu flow. Pure physical power of high-speed vibration. Although ordinary weapons can be used, they may not be able to withstand collapse and destruction immediately, but her sword seems to be one with her, and is not subject to such restrictions at this time. The knife in Hikaritsu's hand showed a killing dance, bright red blood, and opened the chapter of the battle. Shiraishi's body was pierced like this. Is it just over like this? There was no blood, no signs of injuries, but Shiraishi turned into a ball of smoke and dissipated in front of Unohana Ritsu. Point. Blindfold. Unohana Ritsu saw the substitution technique for the first time. Although she didn't know the specific ability of Shiraishi, she had rich fighting experience. She stood up with a long sword in her hand and attacked Shiraishi and appeared in another direction. You and I are not enemies. The magnetic release turned into a metal sword, which intertwined with Unohana Ritsu's sword. I originally wanted to die, but now my unexpected resurrection makes me particularly irritated. Whether we are enemies or not, let us decide the winner with our swords. Someone who wants to die. The opponent was also a swordsman, and Unohana Ritsu had his own judgment. His body turned into a brilliant vermilion light, and the blade reflected the rapid killing light and hit Shiraishi's vitals. Since his own spiritual power cannot be repaired quickly, he does not use his spiritual power and soul-cutting sword abilities, and fights directly with pure Shunpo Hakuda and sword skills. Even such Unohana Ritsu can be called a swordsman of the generation. Point. The undetectable knife stabbed him at an unknown moment. The vortex of air around Shiraishi blocked it, and at the same time, he felt that this knife was more and more strange. Aren't you going to draw your sword yet? In a flash, Unohana Ritsu's sword edge reflected the icy coldness. At that moment, Shiraishi became alert and realized that she had just used an ice escape type of illusion. Point. Use ice to escape visual perception interference. The inherent power in this body naturally needs to be utilized. The reason for using ice release to create light refraction was because Unohana Ritsu remembered that before Aizen's Kyokusu Jetsu's true ability was known, he used the ability to use irregular reflections of fog and water flow to confuse enemies and cause internal strife as a cover. Although it is not a true mirror image, using ice escape can create simple mirages and reflections, confusing the opponent's sight and perception. Point. The rough application has made Shiraishi a little scared. Women who have survived for thousands of years are indeed not simple characters. The same is true for White Snake Princess, and the same is true for Unohanaritsu. At the same time, in Sunagakure village, Uzumaki Tomoki had a headache. Although he was on a mission in Sunagakure during this period, the teacher from the ninja school just came to visit him. What he said was naturally his two precious nieces, Zyangrin and Tomoko, got into a fight at school again and caused trouble. The two elders of the Uzumaki family also died of illness due to some reasons in the past few years. Currently, in the entire Sunagakure Uzumaki family, he and his two nieces, Koru and Tomoko, are actually the only ones left. It has to be said that when Tomoko Uzumaki grew up, she often got into fights and caused trouble. Relying on the Uzumaki family's unique talents, she either beat people up or got beaten up and then continued to beat them back, repeating the cycle. According to the complaints from the teacher, Tomoko is now provoking senior students and even graduates. This makes Uzumaki Tomoki admire how powerful his sister is at giving birth to such a child who is afraid of chaos in the world. As for Zyangrin, although she is much more well behaved than Tomoko, she also has a similar violent element in her heart, so the two girls get together and fight with a group of boys every day. Zyangrin, are you going to fight again? Outside the ninja school, Tomoko and Zyangrin, who had just slipped out of the school gate, were both dressed as red-haired Lolita. However, the various scars and fight marks on their faces made the little boy who spoke couldn't help but laugh. Zao. Mao, forget it if you don't help, you still laugh at us, Uzumaki. Tomoko put her hands on her hips and accused Aoki Shigeru of not being loyal enough, while Uzumaki Koru looked at Zayomo's brother with a slightly red face. Aoki Shigeru is now 6 or 7 years old. Although he is a young shota, thanks to his parents' daily teaching, he rarely does anything inappropriate in the ninja school. Momo, you have to remember that your father is the Kazekage, so you cannot embarrass your father. Everything you say and do must be consistent with the status of the son of the Kazekage. He is the greatest Kazekage in the history of Sunagakure village, so his son must also be outstanding. His mother has been very demanding of Zayomeo since he was a child. Everything he says and does must comply with the rules set by Jounin. If there is a fight in the ninja school, then Jounin will not be lenient when he returns home. In view of this, Zayomeo rarely does anything himself. He always remotely commands Uzumaki Tomoko and Uzumaki Koru to rush to the front to fight, while he directs as the brains of the team. Of course, there is also Gaara, a silent little panda who plays with them on weekdays and forms this second generation team. Therefore, Zayomao's daily dress and appearance are very close to Shiraishi, just like a Shota version of Shiraishi. However, from the bottom of his heart, Zayomao does not like this kind of life, but his father is Feng Ying and is deeply loved by the villagers, so he cannot embarrass him. Gaara, please say something too. Ever since Ichibi Shukaku was taught life by Shiraishi, he has been very quiet in Gaara's belly. Although Gaara has been trapped in the Jinchuriki identity these years, he has grown up alone compared to the original history. Over the years, he has older sisters and older brothers. With the company of these 3 friends, I'm not lonely, and my temper is a little more lively. But in essence, Gaara, the red panda, is still a boring gourd, and doesn't like to talk much. Therefore, Uzumaki Tomoko especially likes to tease Gaara to speak, and even calculates how many words Gaara said this time every time. I think 3 words. Mao 1 word. Don't like fighting. Only 8 words in 1 sentence. How much does Gaara dislike talking? As for Shigeru Aoki not liking fighting, this guy is full of bad ideas. How could he not like fighting? Red pandas are so naive. Seeing Uzumaki Tomoko's attention focused on Gaara, Aoki Shigeru snorted and turned around to leave, while Uzumaki Koro looked at his back and said weakly, why don't you go back together? Zayomo-chan, no, I heard that the teacher has already complained to brother Zhishu. You two wish yourselves the best. What? The teacher actually complained to such a domineering brother? Suddenly, Tomoko Uzumaki, who was not afraid of anything but her brother, seemed to be trapped in the end of the world, which made Uzumaki Karin, her younger sister, burst into laughter. Uzumaki Tomoki's attitude towards his 2 younger sisters is naturally different. Tomoki, who is slightly well behaved, and Koru are both kind-hearted, but Uzumaki Tomoki, who has always been very naughty, is not so polite. Uzumaki Tomoko. Uzumaki Tomoki appeared at the school gate with a dark face, and there was an aura about him that made Tomoko shudder. Dear brother, why are you here? The non-smiling Uzumaki Tomoki smiled and took out a report card and the school teacher's comments in front of Uzumaki Tomoko. What did you think was the reason for me coming? It was an accident. You are responsible for all the housework this week. You reading www.ukanshu.net. Except for my underwear. I don't need you to clean it. My sister and stuff like that are just for doing housework. Uzumaki Tomoko sighed, walked forward gently, and patted Uzumaki Tomoko on the shoulder. Brother, even if you give it to me, I won't wash this thing. Boys are dirty everywhere. Uzumaki Tomoko's face suddenly turned red. That's enough. You are so dirty at such a young age. Don't bring bad luck to Korin. Can Xianglin read some strange books and comics to me? However, at this time, Uzumaki Tomoko showed a lewd smile. Brother, when are you going to marry Temari-san as your wife? I see that you have always been holding yourself back. Are your underwear particularly dirty on weekdays? Before Uzumaki Tomoko could finish speaking, Uzumaki Tomoki punched him with justice from the sky. Shut up. This sister is a disaster. Star chapter 340. I'm a person who wants to die. Mao, are you back? When Shigeru Aoki returned home, he was more reserved than at school. He arranged his shoes and clothes very carefully and put them where they should be. Then he went into the house to greet Maki. Yes, Mother Jounin will prepare dinner and place it in front of his son. The little guy in front of him is almost exactly the same as Shiraishi when he was a child, except for a pair of glasses. But his young age must not let him develop myopia. His father was nearsighted when he was a child because he worked hard to study and grow. Although he often takes off his glasses to look cool during battles, Shiraishi still wears glasses on weekdays. I didn't know that there was a system in the glasses, and I always thought that Shiraishi's myopia problem had not been completely solved. Even the Sharingan transplantation and Byakugan plan were rejected by him. If you have to keep a pair of problematic eyes, you must wear glasses. There were rumors outside that Feng Ying was suspected of being seriously ill and refused to believe that other blood successors could cure his myopia. Sometimes Jounin wonders, does Shiraishi have no vision problems, but has to wear glasses for other reasons, since Shiraishi rarely eats with his children all year round. He spends most of his time educating his children. During the process of eating, Jounin has always advocated not saying anything during meals at the same time. You can't eat too fast. You need to have a certain attitude. These daily issues related to children's education. Although Shiraishi felt that there was no need to be so rigid, but he had no time to take care of his children, so he naturally followed Jounin's arrangements. After dinner, mother and son sat together, looking through Shigeru Aoki's homework and smiling. My grades are better than last semester, but unfortunately I only ranked second in cultural homework and second in practical exercises. You still need to if you work harder. The son of the Kazekage will never be able to remain in second place. Xianglin took first place in the cultural class, and Uzumaki Tomoko took first place in the practical exercises. But Aoki Shigeru took first place in the newly established calculation, physics, and biology classes. Although Aoki Shigeru was second in both subjects, his overall score was first in the school. He wanted to say it out loud, but when he saw a hint of severity in his mother's kindness, he lowered his head and agreed. As a son of the Kazekage, you must be the best. After a few minutes of silence, Aoki Shigeru said softly, isn't father coming back tonight? Jounin smiled and rubbed his son's head. He is currently conducting a series of data tests at the Navy headquarters. He is the Wind Shadow and has many things to deal with. At the same time, over at Shiraishi, his battle with Unahaneritsu continued. Can this knife resonate with the owner's spiritual power? So it is also part of the Maki of its life form. Thinking of this, Shiraishi's eyes flickered. There is spiritual power in this world, but the amount is extremely rare, because the place where the dead go is the so-called Pure Land point. Therefore, there is no place like Soul Society as a transit point between the two worlds, so spiritual power will not be leaked into the world on a large scale point. Therefore, Anohana Itsu's use of spiritual power will not work here, but even with such exaggerated speed and assassination methods. This woman is really a crazy woman. As expected, she once boasted of mastering the world's kendo schools, and proclaimed herself the 8000 Ryu woman. The light and shadow of the sword blades intersected, and the more Anohana Itsu fought, the more curious he became. Although the two sides launched high-speed attacks and defenses in this sea area, Shiraishi did not take the initiative, waiting for him to attack again and again. Are you trying and testing your own strength? It has to be said that the newly awakened Anohana Itsu can burst out with such a powerful instant killing ability, which has already made Shiraishi marvel. Konoha Shunshinshisu is probably at this level, right? Dozens of slashes came at him without blinking an eye. Countless magnetic field fluctuations were generated around Shiraishi. He kept evading, but also left a few scars on his body. Anohana Itsu, who was just testing at first, became more and more murderous as the battle progressed. Her emotions aroused, and she was obviously excited. What a madman. The warm-up is over. It's time to get serious. Hey, weren't you serious just now? Shiraishi didn't have time to think, and countless magnetic escapes automatically formed protection, but he saw Anohana Itsu's knife almost piercing the rotating magnetic escape protection ring he made. The crisp collision sound echoed in all directions. Anohana Itsu's knife, its two sides frost formed, and the sword became more and more weird and difficult to control. Anohana Itsu's sword power seems to have no end, and will continue until it destroys the opponent. No matter how the opponent struggles, he will be swallowed up by it slowly but resolutely, leaving no trace. He is a swordsman, and he is also a madman who enters the Tao through killing. When Shiraishi was about to jump out with a substitute technique, Anohana Itsu seemed to see through this move, and took a step back with millisecond accuracy, so that the distance between the two did not shorten by 1 centimeter. And the tacit understanding was like dancing. As Hihilai's sword turned and vibrated, and the long sword fell quickly, hitting the white stone. The light marks produced by the blade were like lightning cutting through the darkness. The deeper the surrounding area, the more it highlighted its majesty. Unable to avoid it, Shiraishi had no choice but to take action with the divine sword of heaven. The powerful energy generated by the sword suddenly swept across the entire surrounding area, and there was an explosion in the air, like a thunderbolt from a clear sky. Squinting at the divine sword of heaven in Shiraishi's hand, Anohana Itsu's eyes were still so dangerous and scary. It's a really good sword. What's its name? No name. Shiraishi has never had the habit of naming his weapons from the past to the present, because he doesn't like naming weapons. Swords kill people, ninjutsu also kills people, and illusions also kill people. Since they are all means of killing, there is no distinction between them. Weapons are weapons, and should not receive any special treatment. At this point in the battle, Asuha's killing intent boiled to the extreme. Being able to control this kind of sword means that you and the captain are the same kind of people. Let our swords bear witness, Captain. The knife is in Mayozuhuala's hand. Yu reads www.kanshu.net. The black sword energy burst through the air in an instant, carrying gravel and soil with them, soaring straight into the sky. Without any force at all. Pure swordsmanship can have such power with a loud explosion. The divine sword of heaven will also not surrender to any weapon. The strong sword light that represents its own will also wields the sword against Anohana Itsu. The two sides' final attack ended in mid-air. Anohana Itsu quickly retracted the sword in his hand. Isn't this my original world? Yes. After the hair on his chest was tied up, Anohana Itsu seemed to be a different person, showing a kind smile. Then during this time in this world, I will trouble you to take more care of her. Hey, why are you so easy to talk to? I was a person who wanted to die, but you forcibly resurrected me in another world. I don't know what the future will be like for a while, so I can only trouble you to take care of me for the time being. Chapter 341. A mere monster dares to be presumptuous. After a confrontation with Shiraishi's divine sword of heaven, Unohana was willing to stop fighting because she faced Shiraishi holding the divine sword of heaven, which reminded her of meeting the captain 1,000 years ago. Is this a magical man who combines the qualities of Aizen and captain? Now, please tell me what kind of world this is. In the short battle just now, although I only use the most basic fighting skills, the trace amount of spiritual power that passed away was difficult to replenish, and it would take a long time. So understanding this world is a very necessary thing. In his own world in the past, it only took a breath of effort, but now it takes a day to barely recover his spiritual power. Even standing in midair requires the loss of a large part of spiritual power. The laws of the three realms are completely different from the laws of his own world. As for the chakra and the power of nature he mentioned, Unohana could barely use part of it after understanding it for a period of time. Of course, these things are never as important as the soul-cutting knife in his hand. After a brief overview, Unohana basically understands the situation in this world. As a person who originally wanted to die, but now accidentally resurrected in the new world, she has much less obsession than Ace. After Shiraishi brought Unohana back to Sunagakure village, compared to Ace who was surprised by the size and prosperity of Sunagakure village, Unohana didn't seem to have much emotional fluctuations. After all, she had seen a lot of high-rise buildings in her original world. Of course, she still admired Shiraishi, the builder of Sand Hidden Village, because this village no longer had the concept of a village. Sunagakure village, which has been expanded with the Kazekage office as the core, already has a huge urban agglomeration foundation, which makes Unohana compare to what it looked like when Soul Society's Sarita was first built. It's your ideal to unify the ninja world. Yes, all this is to end the troubled times. Regarding Shiraishi's remarks, Unohana fell into deep thought. Is there one in the library? Have the two of them entered Sunagakure's largest library directly? Unohana opened a book and showed a thankful smile. Fortunately, the information here is also written in Chinese characters. If the words are similar, it will be much easier to learn and understand in the next period of time. Unohana was immersed in studying, while Shiraishi returned to his office and added basic information about Unohana to the Anbu. You want to go to medical class? Mentioning this matter, Unohana showed his signature smile. Yes, the job I held in the original world was your position in the medical class, so I just have to do the job I like. I thought your favorite thing to do was to kill people. Now, since Unohana wants to stay in Sunagakure, he must have a clear identity, but the answer from the medical class was beyond Shiraishi's expectation. I have basically understood the use of chakra in this world. Basic medical ninjutsu is also the use of skills. This is common. As Unohana spoke, she used basic medical ninjutsu on a fish on the desk. Soon the fish's wounds began to be repaired bit by bit. However, what surprised Shiraishi was that she had a very high level of chakra control. It is indeed suitable to be a medical ninja. This prosthetic body should also have similar abilities. I have read the remaining memory fragments of her. He was killed by Shanlu Zaochan after his body was taken away from him, so the memories of the two people should remain in his brain. However, since he is essentially a soul-controlling Shinigami, he naturally has a unique way to repair his own memory fragments. This special water energy line is very suitable for surgical operations. Countless water-threaded chakra threads, under the control of Uosuharitsu, continuously pierced the newly rescued salted fish, opening countless wounds, and then the eldest sister continued to use the water-threaded chakra threads to repair it. An older sister who likes to kill people is actually a doctor. It always feels like you're thinking about something weird. No, it's nothing. Shiraishi laughed dryly. In that case, I will arrange for you to be transferred to the medical class. Besides, Ace just returned to the village today, and he wanted to see you. The young man named Ace, according to the Kazekage-sama, and she were both passers-by from another world. Thinking of this, Unohana smiled and said, okay, I want to meet him too. Over the past year or so, Fire Fist Ace's reputation has risen in the Navy and even in the entire sea. He has become the third admiral of the Navy, and two rarely seen Uzumaki Tomoki and Jukaheim have been rated as such by each village. S-level bounty point. After a rare return to the village, Ace learned from Shiraishi that there was another person like him. Ace was naturally very happy and wanted to meet the legendary swordmaster Hanaritsu. When the two set out for Ace's headquarters base, they saw White Snake Princess slowly walking towards the gate of Kazekage's office. In the past 2 years, White Snake Princess has recovered very quickly. Although she is not as strong as White Snake Senin at her peak, she has at least recovered to about 80%. At least she won't worry about Orochimaru coming to bite her one day. Master Kazekage, long time no see. Seeing Shiraishi appear, Beishiji showed a smile on her face, but when she noticed Hanaritsu next to Shiraishi, a scrutinizing look appeared in her eyes. Woman, you disgust me. Please go back. Iron Fang Shadow has something to talk about. Every time Shiraishi brings guests from the new world, he will meet Shiraishi, but this time it was Shiraishi who barely concealed her disgust at the first sight of Hanaritsu. What are you doing to provoke? He laughed fiercely, and her white stone skin tingled with laughter. A mere monster dares to be so presumptuous. Her voice was very soft. You reading www.ukanshu.net, but it made Beishiji's face change drastically. Where did this wild woman come from? Dare to be rude to the AI family. As soon as the words were spoken, Beishiji's feet were inorganically reincarnated and melted the earth for a moment, and she shot out countless sharp blades to attack. Her method of using an organic reincarnation has become more and more mature, directly absorbing the power of the earth and transforming it into her own attack. However, these methods had no effect on Kuretsuwazi. When he saw Kuretsuwazi dodging in an instant, the sword in his hand cut a sword light, and the strange ice seal instantly offset the inorganic reincarnation technique. At the same time, Kuretsuwazi appeared in White Snake, behind G. Beishiji, who reacted quickly, used the peeling technique to escape Uazukaretsu's sword, and looked at Uazukaretsu with a pale face. Hanaritsu still showed a very kind smile, but the murderous intention released by the soul-cutting sword in her hand had already caused the hair on Beishiji's body to explode. She suddenly felt clearly that this woman wanted to kill her. And what is this strong sense of fear all about? Could it be that he, a majestic immortal who has lived for 1,000 years, would be afraid of this woman? Chapter 342. So what if the whole world is your enemy? Is it appropriate for you two to fight outside my office door? Shiraishi looked helplessly at the two women confronting each other, but at this time, Uosuhilai took action. He instantly used his soul-slaying sword and slashed a sharp edge, which directly made Beishiji show a hint of fear. The edge of the soul-cutting knife left a bright red scar on Beishiji's face at some point. After licking the blood on the knife, Uosuhilai smiled and said, "This doesn't taste good." As the blood fell drop by drop, Beishiji's eyes revealed a trace of deep fear and jealousy. Damn it, woman, how dare you hurt the AI family? As soon as he finished speaking, he saw the long knife in Uosuhilai's hand pointed directly at Beishiji's eyebrows, and he looked like, "I'm the new eldest sister of the queen. Monster, I advise you to behave properly. This is Mr. Kazekage's territory. I don't want to start a killing spree." When Uosuhilai spoke, his tone was very indifferent, and he had a feeling of being scrutinized by a superior. This tone was extremely harsh to Beishiji. As a god of death, he is essentially a godlike creature. Naturally, he looks down on the so-called White Snake Princess who claims to be an immortal. In fact, Hanaritsu has lived longer than White Snake Princess. There is no scruple in his tone. In Hulai's eyes, this is just a well-trained monster. Asshole, Bei. Shiji tried to fight again, but Shiraishi opened his mouth to stop him. At some point, a teleportation appeared between the two of them, gently deflecting Hanaritsu's blade a little. "Okay, don't make trouble. You can find me today." "What is it? You guys won't help me either." Beishiji, who felt aggrieved all of a sudden, stood up and was about to turn around and leave when Beishi stopped her. "She is very strong, and you don't need to provoke her casually." Ritsu, who was retracting the soul-cutting sword, naturally showed a gentle smile when he heard Shiraishi say this. What he said is right, little monster. Do you dare to call the monster again? However, White Snake Girl quickly came to her senses. She seemed to have guessed the true origin of this woman. That sword strike just now was by no means a local force in this world. Could it be that it was a visitor from outside the world? Lord Kazekage, if you continue like this, you will make the whole world an enemy. After calming down, Beishiji finally realized that Uezukaretsu was unusual. She understood all this in a blink of an eye and couldn't help but offer some words of advice. What Shiraishi is doing now will sooner or later cause a major counterattack by the local forces in this world. As an immortal who has survived for more than 1,000 years, how could Shiraishi not see that Shiraishi is almost playing with fire? Without hesitation, Shiraishi said calmly, what if we can unify the ninja world and make the whole world an enemy? As soon as the words finished, Beishiji and Uezuka were both surprised that Beishi had such magnanimity, and for a moment they didn't know how to continue speaking. After a long silence, White Snake Princess said, during this period of time, Orochimaru has been uneasy. He even stole the Dragon Ball from me some time ago. I advise you to pay attention to his movements. He also knows a lot of secrets about you. When it comes to Orochimaru, Shiraishi's eyes show a trace of amusement. I understand. After all, he was still born in Konoha. Seeing his teacher and Konoha's situation getting more and more difficult, did Orochimaru also start to feel that boring compassion in his heart? According to intelligence some time ago, Danzo and Orochimaru had a new round of cooperation, in which Orochimaru transplanted a batch of clone Sharinganais for him. Although it was unclear what Danzo needed so many cloned inferior Sharinganais, Shiraishi, I have a hunch that Orochimaru is now beginning to become unreliable, as White Snake Princess said. However, the chess pieces he placed around Orochimaru were monitoring him at all times and had relevant backup preparations. Shiraishi actually didn't care too much about Orochimaru. Of course Orochimaru, I have a way to deal with him, and you told me this, probably because you are afraid of him absorbing the old snake's soul and inheritance. It's almost done now, right? The Shiraishi cave inheritance is now divided into two parts. One part is in Shirasaheim, and the other is in Orochimaru. Orochimaru, who has eaten away at the old snake, has greatly improved his ability and strength, and gradually surpasses Shirasaheim in strength. This makes her feel uneasy, and she naturally thinks use Sunagakure to destroy Orochimaru. She did not deny that one of her goals was part of it, but Beishiji rarely showed a smile. I have my goals, but Orochimaru is indeed getting more and more out of your control, isn't it? Looking at Beishiji's retreating back, the soul-cutting sword in Uezuka's hand was almost ready to be drawn at any time. Only then did Shiraishi speak. You hate her, Uezuka. Lai shook his head. It's just a rude monster, and there won't be any hateful emotions in it. Just like when people see a cockroach, they want to crush it. Uezuka. Lai burst into laughter, as expected of the Kazekage. The metaphor level is very powerful. Then, let's go find that guy Ace. When I saw Ace again, this guy was not wearing the uniform of the Admiralty at all. Instead, he was dressed in the most common cowboy outfit. He was eating a lot of food and drinking wine. He didn't have the airs of an admiral at all. Several female subordinates from the Navy Department seemed to have been used to their boss for a long time. They kept adding food and pouring wine for him in the bustle, and sometimes even covered him with quilts when Ace suddenly fell asleep. This life scene made Shiraishi envious. Kazekage-sama, sensing the appearance of Feng Ying, these girl gods stepped forward to pay tribute. Although they were women, they paid tribute and had a temperament flowing from their bodies. Naturally, they were the purest soldiers. They stood at attention and solemnly without being sloppy. Shiraishi nodded. Master Ace is asleep now. He fell asleep quite quickly. He had just eaten, and now he fell asleep. Fortunately, Ace was the most carefree person in the entire Sunagakure. A silver-haired girl guard smiled. It's okay, I'll wake up soon. This state is also a kind of practice. Shiraishi is naturally aware of Ace's situation and sat down with Unohanaritsu, but the latter is quite interested in looking at the naval base in Sunagakure village. Although he looks casually reading www.ukanshu.net, his strength is still pretty good. He woke up immediately when I released a little bit of killing intent. It turned out that the moment Unohanaritsu sat down, the murderous intent on her body directly woke Ace up, but seeing that she came with Shiraishi, he just continued to pretend to be asleep. Hahaha, I was discovered. After scratching his head and giggling a few times. Ace returned to normal. "This must be Sister Uezukaretsu. This guy Shiraishi mentioned you to me and said you were a very strong swordsman. I didn't believe it at first, but now it looks really awesome." Ace didn't know many swordsmen. The only ones he could compare to were Bista, the foil sword of the Whitebeard pirates, and Hawkeye, the Shichibuke point. Although he was not sure how strong Uezukaretsu was, the killing intent that he had just released freely, and the aura of a swordsman on her body, made Ace confirm that she was definitely a strong person. Then, the next step is, before the two of them could speak, Ace showed a hearty smile. "Have a party, Shiraishi." Chapter 343, Sister Who is Loving Way. Seeing Ace eating meat and drinking wine, Shiraishi and Unohanaritsu, along with the girls from the Navy Department, held a party to celebrate with Ace. "Lord Ace, I would like to propose a toast to you. Good cheers. To the future of our Admiralty." Several Admiralty girls looked polite and quiet on weekdays, but once they started drinking, they all became tipsy and very bold, and had a booze session with Ace Point. Although Shiraishi was also drinking, he did not drink it directly. As a Kazekage, he needed to keep himself in a calm thinking mode at all times, and he strongly opposed drinking. Point as for Mayo's Hiholai, although she also drinks, she still restrains herself from drinking, in order to avoid unnecessary drunkenness, and killing people. After drinking. Point noticing Unohanaritsu looking at him, Shiraishi simply explained, "The situation is not stable, so I never drink casually. The current ninja world is in a kind of calm before the storm. Compared with the original history, the current Sunagakure village is much stronger, and there is even a vague tendency to unify the ninja world." Point the number of jounin in Sunagakure village and the number of ninjas graduating from ninja schools every year are astonishing numbers. Coupled with the high-end combat power, Sunagakure is no longer the situation of 2 or 3 big cats and kittens a few years ago, but has won the complete inheritance stage. Point the experienced elders, such as Abizo and Shio, the older generation of strong men. The middle-aged group include people like Rasa and Hayakura, as well as Shiraishi, the strongest monster in the ninja world at present. Point apart from Shiraishi, who is invincible among his peers, there are also newly rising Sunagakure giants such as Erikawa Arishi and Shirogakiji Tsukasa. As for the younger generation, Uzumaki Tomoki, Fire Fist Ace and others have also become famous. In addition, there are old monsters such as Unohanaritsu and White Snake Princess who have survived for more than 1,000 years, secretly helping Sunagakure. Point coupled with the large number of ninja schools and the new stars emerging from the navy, Sunagakure village is at its peak and extremely powerful. Point not long ago, the divination words of the White Snake Princess were still ringing in my ears. The current situation of Sunakin has entered the upper 9, and the dragon will regret it. White Snake Princess Kaingwa Yeo has reached the so-called upper 9. The 6 Yeo position shows that Sunagakure has reached the extreme position at present, and there is no higher position to occupy. He is solitary and aloof, like a dragon rising on the clouds. It has risen to the highest and most extreme place. It looks around at a loss, with no place to move forward, and no way to go down, so it becomes melancholy and regretful. Point this line, in terms of physics, will have the effect that everything must be reversed when it reaches its extreme. In terms of human affairs, there will be a phenomenon of extreme happiness giving rise to sadness. For Sunagakure, it means that the entire village must turn from prosperity to decline. Point it is an inevitable principle under the operation of heaven that prosperity must lead to decline, but this kind of prosperity and decline is actually a push full of malicious intentions. After the fortunes of Sunagakure village and Shiraishi reach their peak, their decline begins in history. Otsutsuki Kaguya, after reaching the peak of her strength and power, was suddenly betrayed by her 2 sons, and was eventually sealed on the moon. Point under this background, all parties are secretly working together. Even Orochimaru, who defected to Konoha, has begun to strengthen cooperation with Konoha. It is obvious that except for Sunagakure village, all parties do not want the unification of the shinobi world. In addition, the will of the ninja sect represented by the 6 Paths Sage for thousands of years never wants to see Aoki Shiraishi, who has a similar background to Kaguya Otsutsuki, complete the control of this continent. Point a certain special rule of this world has begun to work against Shiraishi's side. The great immortal of Mount Myaboku keeps having nightmares, overtly and covertly implying that Sunagakure village is a source of troubled times. It is conceivable that the future decisive battle in the entire ninja world will be a fierce battle, because some local wills behind the scenes of this world will eliminate the threat of Shiraishi and Sunagakure village at all costs. Shiraishi, who has a supercomputing system, is naturally keenly aware of the situation's deduction. In order to avoid the worst situation, Shiraishi has already secretly arranged a series of countermeasures. Among them, the Akatsuki organization is a key chess piece that disrupts the situation. Although Nagato has long been estranged from him, after all, the Kingdom of Rain relies on the entire Kingdom of Wind, and he has to do many things. However, Unohana and Fire Fist Ace, who are of the same kind as him, as well as their partners who will be added in the future, are another side of Shiraishi's assistance. At the end of the banquet, several assistants fell asleep, but Ace, who had drunk the most, was still very energetic. He looked at the quiet Unohana with a rosy face. Haha, I can feel that, eldest sister, you are very strong. After a short period of observation, Ace felt more and more that Unohana's strength was unfathomable. His original world also had swordsmen like Hawkeye and Buster, but none of them felt as oppressive as Unohana. However, after learning Unohana's true age from Shiraishi, it inspired Ace's strong fighting spirit. You want to compete with me? Although Ace didn't say it clearly, the aura exuding from his body made Unohana smile with pleasure. This smile almost made Shiraishi's hair stand on end. Hahaha, I just want to ask senior for advice. Ace had no intention of challenging him, but facing such a top powerhouse, he naturally wanted to train him. Unohana nodded, then prepare to change places. Kazekage, Unohana doesn't dislike the impression of Fire Fist, but even if he is a guide, he must fight with the consciousness of being hacked to death by himself. When Shiraishi saw this, he formed a seal with his hands and instantly used a special time and space ninjutsu to travel back and forth, putting the two of them in a secret fighting place underground in Sunagakure village. Ace's fighting style is open and closed fists, while Unohana's extremely delicate and instant kill sword skills are different. The two styles are different, but Shiraishi is looking forward to what kind of sparks the two sides can create. However, after all, Unohana is a strong man who has lived for thousands of years. The first strike made Ace feel heavy pressure, and terrifying high temperature energy suddenly sprayed out from his body and spread. Unohana is no stranger to fire-based attacks. After all, the captain he is most familiar with has a soul-cutting sword with similar fire abilities. Reading www.ukanshu.net. He saw the dazzling sword flower dancing with the soul-cutting knife in Ozahuala's hand. In that moment, the airflow storm generated actually formed 3 wind marks, which cut apart the wall of flame created by Ace. This is, among the shattered sparks, Ozahuala showed a kind look. Your strength and qualifications are very good, but your own growth is not enough, so let me train you. As soon as she finished speaking, Unohana's knife pierced Ace's abdomen, and blood fell drop by drop. She still had that gentle look. Speaking from the heart, Unohana intends to sincerely train Ace's growth, so he adopts such a direct method. Ace, who possesses a human body of a fire escape immortal, had just managed to avoid critical injuries. At the same time, the fire escape energy burning in his body began to repair his injuries, but he still grinned. It hurts. Is this called pain? This is the appetizer. Seeing the results of Unohana's blows on Ace's body, Shiraishi wiped the sweat from his head. Is this really okay? Taking back the soul-cutting sword in his hand, Unohana showed a kind smile. Don't worry, I have avoided the vital points, but if he can't bear the pain and dies, it means he hasn't trained enough. Genius. Website address. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 344. Shigeru Aoki. Unohana's guidance method almost left a bunch of blood-stained scars on Ace's body, but she still retained a sense of proportion in her actions, and did not aim at the fatal point. Secondly, it also strengthened Ace's own perception and defense level. At least in the later period, Ace, although he was scarred, had significantly improved all aspects of his fire control in the process of fighting against the terrifying blade of the Unohana Itsugami. Guys are still happy to be chopped like this. Haha, I just feel that my strength has improved significantly. The blood on Ace's body continued to flow, and Shiraishi condensed special medical ninjutsu on his hands to stop the bleeding point. If it weren't for Ace's own immortal body's strong resistance, most people would have been directly hacked to death or died of pain during this kind of training point. The instigator, Ritsuo Nohana, took back his soul-cutting sword and watched Shiraishi's treatment process with twinkling eyes. As expected of Kazekage-sama, this kind of chakra control is very good. Shiraishi now controls an organic reincarnation and medical ninjutsu, constantly repairing Ace's injuries. But there is also a trace of special scorching burning traces left on Anohana Ritsu on the opposite side. It was obvious that Ace was not beaten all the time. When he was slashed, he also exploded with powerful fire escape power to fight back. You two are too crazy to fight. Anohana Ritsu, who returned to normal, smiled and showed an apologetic look. He has very good qualifications, and he is particularly resistant to fighting. The powerful human physique in the world of pirates also amazed Anohana Ritsu. Of course, it was more because of his hunting heart. Such endurance is naturally a good target. Haha, it's really nothing. Sister Hua is really powerful. I admire her. In our world, she must be a strong person on the level of a great swordsman. Back outside Sunagakure village, looking at the sunlight coming in from the window, Anohana Ritsu said calmly, a swordsman? Maybe I prefer being a sword demon. Sword demon is not a bad name. I will ask Sister Hua for more advice in the future. 4. Ace, the existence of Anohana Ritsu is an opportunity for him to hone his skills and grow. Especially when fighting with her, the intense feeling of almost facing life and death situations time and time again can allow him to continue to grow. Ace, I have been fed and drank by you, and my life has been saved. Of course I have to pay something. I can't think of anything else. I can only practice more battles to improve my strength. Ace's words actually touched Shiraishi's heart, and he sincerely thanked Anohana Ritsu and Ace. Thank you very much. The so-called battle and guidance between the two people just now was not because they were aware of Shiraishi's pressure, so they also began to intensify their practice in order to help Shiraishi. Helping you is equivalent to helping us. In response to Shiraishi's thanks, Ace also laughed heartily. Didn't I say that you are the one who saved us? This kindness is nothing compared to this. As for Anohana Ritsu, he narrowed his eyes and smiled. Although I didn't originally intend to live, I survived in this world because of you, so I have to do something to help you. As a god-level being, although Anohana Ritsu cannot mobilize most of her spiritual power, her perception of the rules of the entire world is much stronger than Shiraishi's, so she also recognizes the existence of the crisis. Oops, the strange female gorilla appears. In the ninja school, Uzumaki Tomoko walked forward with a black line on her face, punched them one after another, and knocked a group of senior students who were preparing for a sneak attack to the ground, and then showed a crazy smile. Ah. Haha, you idiots. How dare you offend me with this little power. Looking at the crazy Uzumaki Tomoko in the school, Aoki Shigeru sighed and walked away silently, carrying his school bag, as if everything had nothing to do with him. Tomoko is still as happy as before. He didn't know why, but he envied Uzumaki Tomoko's life, where she could do the things she liked, instead of living like himself, living with the expectations of people around him all day long. Sometimes Aoki Shigeru thinks that, if he were not Kazekage's son, he would not be so tired when he faces his parents at home and teachers and classmates at school. Aoki Shigeru has always performed exceptionally well. Such a serious and hard-working student also made the teachers in the school respect Aoki Shigeru, especially because he showed that he was a perfect son of the Kazekage. On weekdays, not only does he have excellent learning ability, but he is also gentle and courteous towards his classmates and teachers. He is very friendly and approachable to everything in a humble manner. Every time the school organizes various activities, he participates on behalf of the student union. From a young age, he has been labeled as Shigeru Aoki, the son of the Kazekage, a child as outstanding as his father. Although he wanted to say that he was tired of all this, Aoki Shigeru did not show it. My father, the Kazekage, was under a lot of pressure. He worked in the Kazekage's office almost every day, dealing with a large amount of various tasks. When I helped my mother deliver lunch several times, I looked at my father, who was as great as a mountain in my heart. When he was taking a break, after finishing a lot of work, with a hint of exhaustion in his eyes, Aoki Shigeru knew very well what this village Kazekage was shouldering. I want to be a Kazekage. Even though the heavy responsibilities shouldered by the Kazekage are currently beyond my ability to bear, I still hope to be as powerful as my father. However, I also hate those who always talk about becoming a Kazekage people, because I think they just think it's awesome, handsome and cool, and they don't realize what the Kazekage represents at all. Many children in the school dream of becoming a Kazekage, but Aoki Shigeru's declaration of his dream made the scene extremely quiet. This was the only time Shigeru Aoki lost his composure during this period of time at the ninja school. After that, he continued to be the son of the Kazekage in the eyes of everyone. Because of this, Aoki Shigeru never deliberately causes mischief and attracts his father's attention to such stupid behaviors, because he does not want his respected father to be too distracted for his own sake. So I hide my true inner appearance, show an appearance that everyone agrees with, and pretend to be in this ninja school. Reading www.okanshu.net is Shigeru Aoki's own choice, and it is never anyone else's influence on his relationship. Mother is the person who knows father best, and it is because of this understanding that she chooses to continuously strengthen her demands on Shigeru Aoki when it comes to educating her children. Therefore, Aoki Shigeru can understand some of his mother's almost harsh demands on him. He never complained or was dissatisfied with anything, because the little guy understood everything from the day he became sensible. Whether it's his father or his mother, they are both the ones he loves. PS. There are only 2 updates today, and they will be gone afternoon. The company will arrange for me to travel for 3 days next week, which is a bonus. I have to find a way to save some manuscripts. I really don't have enough time. Genius website address. Mobile version reading URL. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345. The Night of Genocide begins. In the Uchihakide family, Uchihakide has been living in this house alone since his mother died of illness more than a year ago. On weekdays, he lives alone, but the house is very lively with people coming and going. A large number of young Uchiha clan members gathered here to discuss the future of the Uchiha clan. These young people drank wine and spoke freely, expressing their aspirations and ambitions one by one. Among them, Uchihakide became the leader of this group of people. Although the top management of Konoha intentionally suppressed Uchihakide's growth and influence, Uchihakide, who has the same Mangeki Sharingan as Uchiha Itachi, can hardly shake his status in the clan. In this context, the Uchiha clan and the top management of Konoha were in an incompatible situation, especially in Konoha 55, after the negotiation between Sunagakure and Konoha on the border issue of the Bear Country. Konoha's external pressure began to increase significantly. But now that some young people in the Uchiha clan have gathered under Uchihakide and formed a force that makes them fearful, Konoha's top management finally paid attention to this matter. Uchihakide is a dangerous character. He is constantly inciting the younger generation of the Uchiha clan and creating conflicts between the two parties, making the current situation in Konoha very unstable. Shimura Danzo's attitude is very clear. The Uchiha clan is now taking more and more frequent actions, and there are signs of violence at any time. This time he made a special trip to remind the Third Kazekage that he cannot continue to indulge the Uchiha clan. And they naturally understood the meaning of Danzo's words, but he was still hesitating about the pros and cons of this matter. What did Itachi say? When it comes to Itachi, Danzo said with certainty, his judgment is the same as mine. Seeing Danzo's confident look, the Third Kazekage instinctively sensed something was wrong, but he still expressed his opinion. When necessary, we still need to have dialogue and communication with the Uchiha clan. Shisu's suicide caused the Uchiha clan's vitality to be severely damaged and morale to be low. However, because of Uchihakide, Some people in the Uchiha clan insisted on continuing the original strategy. Therefore, during this period of time, all the changes within the Uchiha clan were actually reported to the higher-ups of Konoha by Itachi. This will lead to the worst possible outcome, that is uncontrollable. Even though the Sandaime Hokage insists on resolving the Uchiha coup through negotiation, all parties believe that there is no need to continue talking. The Uchiha clan and Konoha's top leaders are gearing up. Hiruzen, give up your meaningless illusions. Now both sides can only end with the fall of one of them. At this point, several Hokage advisors expressed their opinions, but to deal with Uchiha Itachi is not enough. More forces need to be added, and Uchiha must be defeated without disturbing Sunagakure. The Bo clan will be completely wiped out. You mean Danzo took the words and continued. Contain Uchiha and let Itachi alone be responsible for annihilating the entire Uchiha clan. Uchiha Sasuke's biggest bargaining chip is to control Itachi. Everyone in the top management of Konoha has their own plans. In order to effectively destroy the Uchiha clan as soon as possible, Shimura Danzo specially found Uchiha Itachi, and in exchange for the life of Itachi's younger brother Uchiha Sasuke, Uchiha Itachi killed the entire clan, and killed the entire clan. Sasuke kept it a secret, and used his identity as a traitor to collect organizational information that was detrimental to Konoha. In order to protect the village from other countries taking advantage of the situation, it was also for Shisu's will and his brother's life. In the end, Itachi was forced to accept the mission of genocide in pain and suffering. However, there is another key figure in the Uchiha clan's plan to destroy the clan, and that is Uchiha Obito. Although Obito has rarely interfered with Konoha's affairs in recent years, Itachi dug out traces of Obito's existence in his own way. The meeting between the two used how the Uchiha clan would be destroyed as an opportunity to negotiate. Obito still resented Itachi for selling him out, which exposed him to the sight of Konoha's top brass, but he still agreed to continue cooperating with Itachi. Under the condition that he was not allowed to attack Konoha and his brother Sasuke. Uchiha Itachi entrusted Obito, and the two teamed up to completely wipe out the Uchiha clan. Facing the upcoming crisis of the Uchiha clan, Fugaku seemed indifferent. In fact, he had been silently aware of all this, but he did not take any action. The clan has long been out of his control. Now that Uchiha is leading the entire Uchiha clan, they are about to go to the opposite side of Konoha. Fugaku has already done everything he can to depend on destiny. Therefore, tonight, Uchiha house will receive special care from the top management of Konoha. There are about a dozen root elite members, plus several jounin leaders, responsible for surrounding Uchiha. As long as the connection between Uchiha and the Uchiha clan is cut off, the entire Uchiha clan's genocide plan will go much smoother for more than a year. Ever since the missions between Bear Country and U Country went awry, the Uchiha clan has been basically considered by Konoha to be colluding with Sunagakure and betraying the interests of the village. This series of events directly led to the Uchiha clan becoming even more isolated. Even if they stage a coup and successfully seize control of Konoha, there will actually be very few other local Konoha villagers willing to follow the Uchiha clan. This is also the result of the push of the top management of Konoha. The third Hokage seems to be unable to bear it, but for the sake of Konoha's century-old plan to eradicate the internal threat of the Uchiha clan, he has to do this. I just hope I won't bleed again. Knowing that tonight was an uneasy night, the third Hokage sighed and looked out the window with a trace of nostalgia. Remembering the Uchiha mirror and the contribution of the Uchiha clan to the entire Konoha since the founding of the village. Just when he was lamenting the fate of the Uchiha clan and Konoha, he suddenly realized that Konoha was particularly bright tonight. Bright, wrong. The third Hokage suddenly appeared, and a dazzling blood-red sun surrounded Konoha village, forming a high temperature and scorching airflow energy that almost attracted the attention of the whole village. Above the blood-red sun, Kid Uchiha, dressed in the traditional samurai attire of the Uchiha clan, holding a sword, stood solemnly in midair with a particularly solemn expression. Why does Uchiha Kid appear here? Didn't Danzo send people to his house to exterminate him? As if to confirm the speculation of the third Hokage, a dozen flaming heads were projected from Uchiha Kid's hand and landed directly on the door of the Hokage's office, leaving only shock and consternation. The Uchiha clan has been working diligently since the founding of the village in Konoha, leaving a lot of contributions to the construction of the village. However, the descendants of the Senju clan, their disciples, have never been able to tolerate the Uchiha clan village, and even did not hesitate to suggest that the Uchiha clan was born rebellion, destined to rebel against Konoha. Uchiha Kids words, UU reading www.ukanshu.net, were full of powerful energy and spread throughout the entire Konoha village. For a time, the faces of the Third Hokage and Konoha senior officials were as hen, go, and stop him, several Anbu personnel around him turned into countless afterimages and rushed towards Uchiha Kid in the sky. However, Uchiha Kid didn't care. His right eye Sharingan turned into a main Gekkai Sharingan, and under everyone's surprised eyes, he ended the earth features, fully enabled point at this moment. The entire Konoha village below was terminated, and the earth formed a large sunlight, illuminating the entire village. Even Uchiha Itachi and Obito, who were just about to go to the Uchiha clan to take action, were shocked by the terrifying sun and dazzling light in the sky. So let's just do the opposite, genius. Website address. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 346. You are not an Uchiha. The Crimson Sun formed by the ending land is far superior to ordinary weather type spells. It is an extremely domineering field style move. At first, the Third Hokage and others thought that Uchiha Kid created this Crimson Sun for attack, so they took all measures to defend and prepare to evacuate the people. Unexpectedly, the Crimson Sun did not directly smash down. Instead, it continued to float in the sky while absorbing the power of the surrounding nature, turning the world into a scorching and high temperature hell, projecting endless fire rain attacks, continuously absorbing natural energy and then violently releasing it. This is the real power of the end. In the weather field created by the ending land, the power of fire escape will be increased several times. Looking at the sun getting bigger and bigger in the sky, the Third Hokage showed a worried look. Although it has not fallen down now, as the energy continues to absorb and expand, it will eventually produce explosive power, which may directly level Konoha to the ground. Controlling such a giant sun, Uchiha Kid looked at the people in Konoha village below with a cold face, and endless fire rain energy poured out under his control. A large number of houses and buildings were on fire due to the baptism of fire. A large number of water escape ninjas tried to extinguish the fire with water, but they found that the Crimson Sun contained green flames. It was difficult to extinguish the fire by ordinary means, so they could only use the fire sealing seal. Since the fire sealing seal is used, the overall efficiency in extinguishing and treating fires will be much worse. The Third Hokage put on battle-specific clothing and stared coldly at Uchiha Kid in the sky. Operation Uchiha is a secret among secrets. In order to achieve a confusing effect, the village has not even carried out mobilization and evacuation preparations, preparing to eliminate the Uchiha clan without anyone noticing. Uchiha Kid's attack was almost a complete break. Even if the Uchiha clan was successfully wiped out and Sasuke was retained, his situation and treatment would be completely different from those in history. Orphans of traitors and orphans of famous families are completely different concepts. To use the lives of the entire clan to fulfill one person, I'm sorry. The Uchiha clan should be prosperous and lose their status. Whatever treatment the Ninetales Jinchuriki enjoys, Uchiha Sasuke should also be the same. Uchiha Kid's words were full of malice and viciousness. Itachi and Obito, who had sneaked into the Uchiha mansion at the same time and were about to implement the plan, suddenly turned pale when they saw the bright and dazzling sun in the sky. TSK, Uchiha Kid seems to have taken the first step. Itachi, what are your plans? Obito stood aside in the mood of watching a drama. He still remembered the last time that brat Uchiha Itachi betrayed him and almost overturned the situation. Now it was tit for tat, and it was his turn to be plotted against. But this is not a calculation. After all, Uchiha Kid has so many grievances with him, so it's not that bad. Keep moving. Stepping into the mansion, I saw that the Uchiha mansion was suddenly brightly lit in the middle of the night, and countless pairs of Sharingan eyes appeared in the darkness, reflecting the strange atmosphere of the scene. As the leader of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku and his wife Uchiha Makoto stood indifferently in the center of the mansion, looking at Itachi and Obito in front of them. Father, Gently grabbing his wife's hand, Fugaku took a deep breath. Itachi, I respect your choice, but we Uchiha will never sit still and wait for death. As soon as the words were spoken, countless Uchiha tribesmen attacked in the direction of Itachi and Obito. At this time, the secretly ambushed root elites appeared at the same time and fought with the Uchiha tribesmen. Shimura Danzo had already made complete preparations to destroy the Uchiha clan. Now that Itachi's plan was exposed, fortunately, Neeb personally took action to contain the ordinary Uchiha clan members for Itachi. In the Leaf Village, the third Hokage sprayed out a stream of special clay, which instantly exploded in front of Uchiha. In his stunned eyes, he saw the third Hokage holding a giant stick and impressively using special clay shoes to step on the giant fireball. Attack Uchiha. As the shadow of a village, the third Hokage would never flinch in the face of threats, especially the terrifying sun that could self-destruct at any time, so he took action decisively and appeared in front of Uchiha. Uchiha, are you really going to betray the village? Yes, isn't this exactly what you expected? As soon as he finished speaking, the moment Uchiha clenched his fist tightly, red flames condensed on the surface of his fist, almost turning white, heavy, and heavy. Hooray! The surrounding air spontaneously combusted without wind, and the fire was raging, blasting towards the third Hokage crazily. Uchiha, who absorbed Essen's human body, used the purest blood of the flame fist, but it contained terrifying explosive power. At the same time, he activated the power of turbine flames in his left eye to increase the flame energy to the extreme. The high temperature airflow puts them in a state about to be ignited. When the time is right, the turbine flames are used to attract them, complete the contraction, increase the density and turn them into the most powerful punch. As the density increases, the heat becomes more intense, and the air begins to burn. Sparks continue to spurt out, forming a very terrifying lethal force, as if countless Fire Phoenix magic techniques are continuously being shot out. This move is quite difficult to practice. Without the control of fire escape and the control of the power of the immortal human body, there is no connection at all. But for Uchiha, it is just right. The flames came from all directions and were so fierce that the third Hokage's heart tightened. He gave up preparations and raised his hands to resist. He felt that his respiratory tract was burning and uncomfortable. Uchiha was already approaching, and he punched from bottom to top, rising into the sky. Third generation sir. Several Hokage guard Anbu appeared on one side. Seeing the third Hokage take action, they naturally stepped forward to call out. However, at this time, the red flames around Uchiha formed an absolute protection, forming a barrier area on the giant wheel of the sun. Normal people would not be able to withstand the temperature if they were close to the high temperature sun. If Uchiha did not have a turbine flame to control the surrounding temperature, he would not be able to safely step on the red sun. However, the third Hokage used his body to withstand the high temperature, which made Uchiha admire him. At the same time, there was a trace of killing intent in his eyes. This familiar yet unfamiliar killing intent suddenly gave the third Hokage a very unpleasant feeling. The red flames formed a sharp blade and concentrated on Uchiha's hand. He made an opening move that was very familiar to the third Hokage. Fire-released tornado knife. The domineering whirlwind blade was projected out. As the third Hokage evaded, he saw the flames on Uchiha's hand shining with a layer of light green flame energy. This green flame turned into a sharp blade, and he turned around and slashed as if it was a dragon's roar. The swirling flames flashed with a terrifying high temperature impact. The destructive power of an explosion made Sarutobi Hiruzen hold the Ruai Diamond Red to block it quickly. However, when he saw the dazzling and scorching explosion, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a numbness in his arms and was forced to take a step back. The familiar routine, reading www.ukanshu.net suddenly reminded him of the battle of the past, when Konoha invaded Sunagakure, the battle where the 5th Kazekage became famous, although at that time he used a magnetic escape blade, /U00to61T/P/U003. You are not an Uchiha, who are you? An unprecedented sense of absurdity filled his heart, and the third Hokage stared closely at the strange, yet familiar young man opposite him. Me. Uchiha Kid narrowed his eyes, and the flaming blade in his hand suddenly split into two, turning into two flaming swords. At this moment, the main Jekai Sharingan was spinning, and the fire became more fierce. I'm just a simple killer of you. /U00 to 61T. /P/U003 Genius website address. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 347. Burning Konoha. Unlike the last Nine Tails rebellion, Konoha village was still prepared. This time Konoha was completely undefended, and the fire was so fierce that it was too late for many civilians to move. Many people were buried in this sea of fire, because the rain of fire created by Uchiha Kid mixed with some green flames was too weird and difficult to deal with, making it difficult to calm down the fire. In the chaos, Asuma looked at the terrifying sun in the sky. His face turned extremely pale. Did the Uchiha clan really rebel? Kakashi, on the side, was participating in the rescue work and shook his head at Asuma's question. The only one who can use such a terrifying fire escape technique is Uchiha Kid. 3 generations of him should be fighting Kid. Uchiha Kakashi had already opened his Sharingan and was staring at the two fighting in the sky. In such an environment, it is very difficult for ordinary people to stand up, but the third generation actually faced Uchiha Kid alone. How is the situation on the Uchiha side now? I'm afraid we are still fighting fiercely. The Uchiha mansion was filled with flames, and it was obvious that a head-on fight between Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Itachi's father and son had finally begun. Unexpectedly, Uchiha and the village finally reached this point. Kakashi's eyes inadvertently showed a trace of sadness. Konoha is already weak and declining now, so why are they still fighting meaninglessly? In the original history, Uchiha Fugaku had a life and death intention, and calmly died without fighting Uchiha Itachi. However, the situation this time was completely different. Uchiha Fugaku controlled his own main Jiki Sharingan, opened Susanoo, and directly fought against Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Itachi launched a fierce attack. Although Uchiha Fugaku's Susanoo is in an incomplete form, Uchiha Itachi and Obito still keep avoiding it. Obito currently doesn't want to get involved at all, while Itachi is hesitant. This hesitation comes from facing his father and his tribe, but when he thought of his brother and the village in flames outside, Uchiha Itachi no longer hesitated. Sensing Uchiha Itachi's gaze, Uchiha Fugaku felt heartache for no reason. He knew very well that this was some kind of realization that his son was about to kill him. For some reason, this realization made him feel heartbroken and uncomfortable, but at the same time he was a little relieved. Father, I'm sorry. A similar Susanoo suddenly appeared. At the same time, Uchiha Itachi attacked in an instant. With a loud explosion, Uchiha Fugaku spat out a mouthful of blood, and he and Susanoo took a few steps back. In terms of strength, Itachi is stronger than him, and his Susanoo has other special abilities. The odds of winning this battle are not high. But Uchiha Fugaku will never back down. He is a member of the Uchiha clan. If he shrinks back, what will happen to the rest of the clan? Before the decisive battle, Uchiha Kid specifically approached him, and it seemed that Sunagakure was willing to accept the Uchiha clan. Uchiha's roots have long been in the land of fire. What's the point of leaving? But the children and old people in the clan are innocent. Uchiha Fugaku sighed and did not ask too much about the cooperation between Uchiha Kid and Sunagakure. On the contrary, he quickly adjusted his previous strategy and asked Uchiha Kid to lead some tribesmen to leave Konoha and live in Sunagakure. Currently, most of the Uchiha clan members who are willing to take refuge in Sunagakure are women, children, and most of the remaining young adults choose to stay and coexist with the Uchiha clan. Uchiha's pride would never let them escape from Konoha village in disgrace. The flames of war burned throughout the Konoha village. With Uchiha Fugaku roaring, he and Uchiha Itachi's Susanoo collided with each other. The powerful airflow caused chaos in the entire Uchiha mansion. On the giant red sun, Uchiha Kid looked at the third Hokage opposite with a sneer. The existence of the third Hokage is a huge trouble for Sunagakure. This old man, who is over 70 years old, is using his will and thinking to influence the next generation of young people in Konoha. This famous third generation Hokage, who was dubbed the Ninja Professor, was dedicated to the construction and development of the village. His influence is much stronger than that of Danzo and his ilk, and he is also the spiritual support of many people in Konoha. Under his influence, geniuses like Shisu and Itachi and Uchiha were influenced and even used, even at the expense of themselves. Everything points such a terrifying opponent. Shiraishi will never allow him to continue to survive. Orochimaru's former Konoha collapse plan made Shiraishi think about how to actually carry out the Konoha collapse plan. The night of the Uchiha clan's genocide may be a good opportunity. Konoha is planning how to subvert the Uchiha clan, while Sunagakure is planning how to use this matter to make Konoha bleed more and hurt more. Vitality point. When the rain of fire fell on the sky and the earth, Uchiha-Ki's eyes flashed with cold light, and the moment he held the two swords in his hands, the airflow condensed into sharp flaming swords, which directly hit the third Hokage point, while the third Hokage was evading sideways. Uchiha-Ki directly used the charged flame attack to close the distance between the two. His body paused, almost giving the illusion of expansion, blocking the third Hokage's sight. He raised his right hand, a chopping fist hit, like a claw or a fan, causing violent wind. The fierce flames are accompanied by the roar of the tiger, and all beasts are transformed. Uchiha-Ki was approaching fiercely, and the third Hokage did not dare to neglect. At the same time, he swiped the giant stick in his hand and caught Uchiha-Ki's flaming wrist in time, trying to stop this chopping punch. However, at this time, Uchiha-Ki's fist suddenly popped out the index finger, middle finger, ring finger and little finger, and shot them at the face of the third Hokage, just like a cat showing its claws. Moreover, they made a sharp sound of breaking through the air, as if the bullets flew away from the barrel of the gun. If they were hit directly, there would be a bloody hole on the face of the third Hokage. The snap of a finger is like a gun. At this time, the 8 demon in the giant stick took action, and the 2 hands that appeared were holding it. The third Hokage took advantage of the situation and stepped to the side and left as soon as he stuck. The third Hokage's cooperation with the monkey demon is really difficult compared with the previous battle in Sunagakure village. Although his physical strength has dropped a lot, his fighting spirit and will have improved a lot. Is it because of the mission of being Hokage? While the two were fighting fiercely, the crimson sun billow expanded to a certain extent and directly projected 16 small crimson fireballs, which landed in many directions in Konoha village. The instigator, Uchiha-Ki, instantly opened the seal. Open. Fire escape hot purgatory. In an instant, reading www.ukanshu.net. The fireball turned into a pillar of fire, directly burning the surrounding area into a piece of scorched earth. Under Uchiha-Ki's move, a quarter of the buildings in Konoha village were razed to the ground. Damn it, you bastard. Heartache. Uchiha-Ki was engaged in the most dangerous close combat with the third Hokage. Uchiha-Ki was very aware of the power of the golden cudgel transformed by the monkey demon, so he directly increased the energy of the red sun to the extreme point. The power of the ending land in the turbine flames increased again, raising the current temperature to thousands of degrees. Genius website address. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 348. Eye of Death. In Mount Myaboku, Jiraiya put on a set of clean clothes and came to the main hall. In addition to the great sage of Mount Myaoki, the 2 sages Fukasaku and Shima were also there. It was obvious that something big had happened. Great. Immortal, why did you summon me here? Jiraiya was very strange. During this period of time, he had been practicing in Mount Myaboku. Not only was he preparing to improve his sage mode, but he also wanted to practice some other secrets of Mount Myaboku. However, he was summoned by the great sage. Something happened in Konoha. The Uchiha clan colluded with Sunagakure to rebel. Now Konoha is in the biggest crisis since the village was founded. The recent nightmares have made Daisunin's sleep quality poor, so he is dozing off from time to time. But Fukasaku and Shima, who have already understood the situation, are in charge of this matter. The Uchiha clan rebelled and directly burned Konoha, causing chaos now. Although the third Hokage worked hard to fight and stop it, there is currently a huge fire in Konoha village. How messy and ruined Konoha will be after today. In the past, Mount Myaboku rarely interfered directly with worldly affairs like this, but it was related to the future peace of the ninja world. If Konoha was destroyed by civil strife at this time, then the ninja world would have nothing to check and balance Sunagakure's forces. Mount Myaboku would never allow such a situation to happen. So under the instructions of the great immortal, the two immortals Fukasaku and Shima decided to let Jiraiya interrupt his follow-up training in Senjutsu and rush back to Konoha directly for support. The child's father, do you think little Jiraiya can shoulder the responsibility of Hokage? According to the predictions from the old sage, it is very likely that the third generation of Hokage will be defeated or even die. Therefore, Myaboki Mountain must make early preparations to help Konoha stabilize the situation. Letting Jiraiya return to Konoha was not to rescue the third Hokage, but to allow Konoha, who had no other members, to find a backbone, so that people like Danzo could gain power and become Hokage. It's obvious that even Myaboki doesn't think highly of short-sighted people like Danzo. Not only Jiraiya's side, but also Orochimaru's side also got the information that the Uchiha clan burned Konoha. Compared with the solid defensive barrier outside Konoha, the fire burning inside would almost destroy the entire Konoha. Orochimaru was silent for a long time and sneered, "This old thing looks like it will be difficult to hold on." Although he was mocking the third Hokage for being old, Orochimaru soon put away his smile. "However, I decide how long this old guy can live, so he can't die." The balancer. Speaking of this, Orochimaru's body was slowly sinking and disappeared into his own base. The fierce battle continued, with the red giant sun suspended over Konoha. The temperature and fire became more and more intense. Traditional water escape and general sealing techniques were unable to stop the spread of the fire. Therefore, Konoha's top management decided to evacuate the people first and then find ways to extinguish the fire. So most of the ninja forces participated in the rescue operation. Only at the Uchiha mansion, the fight to the death continued. Uchiha Fugaku and most of the Uchiha clan members faced off against the Nebs, Itachi and Obito. They looked at the familiar clan members around them, dying under Neb's sword. Itachi's expression remained unchanged, and he continued to attack Fugaku. There was no wavering emotion, and Uchiha Makoto turned pale. This time, she did not leave the old, weak women and children, but stayed with her husband, because she did not want to see the scene of father and son killing each other. "Where's Sasuke?" At this moment in the battle, Uchiha Itachi noticed such a big movement, but did not see Uchiha Sasuke appear for a long time, so he couldn't help but ask, "Sasuke, why don't you ask the people around you where they took Sasuke?" When Sasuke was mentioned, Fugaku's eyes became even more murderous. Originally, he planned to arrange for Sasuke to be sent to Sunagakure together, but as soon as the ninja school was over, he discovered that Sasuke had not returned home. After investigation, he learned that there were members of the roots near the ninja school activity. It was obviously Danzo who took Sasuke away. Sasuke was caught. Itachi's eyelids jumped, and things were out of his control again. At this time, Obito suddenly interrupted. "The root of controlling Sasuke is just to have one more bargaining chip to control you. He will be fine for the time being." Snort. Fugaku's face was cold. As the power of Susanoo increased again, he released a strong wave of light, which shot directly at Uchiha Itachi. However, when the latter quickly avoided it, Uchiha Itachi's Susanoo suddenly released in the middle. A special black flame was emitted and burned directly on Fugaku's Susanoo. Amaterasu. The fire of black flame burned on Fugaku's Susanoo, constantly destroying the chakra-based defense built around his Susanoo. The secret agent concubine of the cold-hearted prince facing Itachi's pressing step by step. Fugaku's expression remained normal, without any fear or flinching at all. "It's the last blow. Get ready, Itachi." "I'm sorry, father. You have so much to apologize for." In the final attack, just after the Susanuos of the two sides crossed each other, Uchiha Fugaku stood still for a long time. After a while, the Uchiha clan leader coughed several times and saw blood flowing from his mouth. Uchiha Makoto looked at the scene of father and son killing each other with tears in her eyes, and her body softened, and she half knelt down. At this time, Obito suddenly appeared behind him, and the knife in his hand suddenly stabbed Makoto's throat. At the moment when Uchiha Fugaku died in the battle, the light of the Sharingan in his eyes lost its luster, as if the power of the pupils had been taken away. This scene made Itachi and Obito's expressions change drastically. Not only Fugaku, but the Sharingan of the tribesmen who died in the battle lost their luster at the moment of death, and their eye power seemed to be taken away by an invisible mysterious force. "I'm afraid it has something to do with that weird sun in the sky. At the same time that both the Uchiha couple were killed and the crimson sun was shining on the land of Konoha above Konoha village, there was a half-finished Sharingan pearl in its inner core area. After Uchiha Fugaku's death, his kaleidoscope power was introduced into the Sharingan pearl. In an instant, the entire giant sun gradually transformed into a special shaped Sharingan-like totem point. Special dark fluctuations gradually emitted around the red sun. Once some of the villagers below looked into the giant Sharingan in the sky, they would be immobilized by illusions. What have you done? When the third Hokage noticed it, it was too late. This strange crimson sun and the special Sharingan totem caused a second round of damage to Konoha. The shadow of death shrouded everyone in Konoha. Even Kakashi felt an inexplicable fear in his heart when his Sharingan faced the giant Sharingan in the sky. Uchiha stepped forward step by step, holding the two flame swords in his hands. Every time a member of the Uchiha clan dies, its strength and resentment will increase. For Fugaku and other Uchiha clan members, Konoha must pay the price even if they die and the clan is destroyed. So they agreed to assist Uchiha to complete this special technique. 2 Genius website address. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 349. Sharingan Eating Dreams Limited Edition. Tsukuyomi. Continuously absorbing the pupil power of the Uchiha clan, a large number of Sharingan eyes engraved on the Sharingan beads began to wake up one by one, releasing more powerful pupil power and awakening more characteristics. The previously performed technique used the hit rate of the compound eye characteristics, combined with the illusion increase of the mental power characteristics, to allow Ye Cang to simulate an ability similar to the infinite. At Tsukuyomi, however, this was a weakened version, which only caused the user to fall into an illusion dream. Trapped for now. But just this special one caused greater chaos in Konoha. The third Hokage looked at Uchiha with a livid face. At this time, the Sharingan bead slowly rose from the red sun, looking at a bunch of strange flesh of the Sharingan ball. The third Hokage's expression changed. Such an evil thing. Whether it's evil or just, what's the point of talking about it now? Third generation Sama. Under the burning flames, Uchiha revealed his strong upper body and at the same time formed seals with his hands, activating special seals, and saw the flesh ball-like Sharingan beads exuding a weird stench melting into his chest, forming a special textured body. And then a large number of Sharingan appeared all over Kid's body. This strange physical state made the third Hokage uncontrollably frightened. Uchiha, who had injured such a huge power of eye skills, gritted his teeth and saw the Sharingan Megatama on his body began to rotate, releasing unique chakra fluctuations with outward release cells. Uchiha used his fire release SEN's human cells to combine the Sharingan pearl with himself, allowing the power of the red sun to continuously feed back to himself. However, Uchiha body was activated by the power of countless Sharingan eyes, which also produced a huge spirit power loss in the thinking world. Shiraishi and the other three split bodies sat cross-legged, and the four of them gathered their mental power together to share the tyrannical consumption of the Sharingan pearl for Uchiha. Although the Sharingan pearl consumes a lot, the increase in pupil power it brings is also massive. At the same time, among a bunch of refreshed characteristics, Shiraishi specially selected 2 characteristics that are suitable for the current increase of Uchiha. The power of secret lore and yoga awakens. Secret method accelerate awakening by superimposing the 2 characteristics of the Sharingan pearl. Uchiha now has the power of yoga that doubles his attack power and the acceleration that continuously increases his speed. In addition, there are Sharingan beads with compound eyes and mental power, as well as Uchiha's own terminal earth and turbine flame. The combination of these characteristics increased Uchiha's combat power several times. Surrounded by flames, every punch of him contained terrifying destructive power that could tear everything apart. With a bang, Uchiha struck first, and the attack became even more fierce. The third Hokage reluctantly pulled his waist and instantly leaned back slightly, feeling the strong wind brought by the opponent's fist blowing across his face, stinging like a cut. How many times can you escape? However, although he was old, the third Hokage did not admit defeat. His body was like a spring, his back instantly straightened and returned to its original position. His fists burst out, and he quickly counterattacked Uchiha. However, he saw Hakide's red eyes were cold and unchanging. Following the punch, he jumped up, swung his waist and hips, bent his knees, and pushed to the side, blocking the opponent's attack. At the same time, he used his strength to spin around, sweep his legs, and blow up the flames. The tornado, one kick after another, one leg after another, goes back and forth, endlessly ferocious with the blessing of acceleration characteristics. The third Hokage was finally unable to keep up with Hakide's movements, and his body was kicked up. Hokage-sama, the third Hokage, who suffered a series of serious injuries, spat out a mouthful of blood, still clasping the giant stick tightly in his hand, and stared coldly at Hakide opposite him. The third Hokage in the Vietnam War noticed that his body function seemed to be corroded by Hakide's flames, and began to slowly decline, while the opponent's speed became faster and faster, almost to the point where he could no longer resist. Moreover, in such a high temperature environment, conventional water escape techniques are almost impossible to perform in such an environment. When end of the earth is activated, any water escape cannot be used effectively, and the effect of the characteristics is more powerful than ordinary skills. Especially now, Hakide has received multiple characteristics improvements, and his strength is comparable to that of monsters, but the loss of his physical strength is also very serious. After all, the increase in such a huge pupil power is also very serious for the physical body. As Obito and Itachi gradually cleared away the remaining members of the Uchiha clan, the power of the Sharingan Pearl was still increasing crazily. With the addition of the power of the huge pupil technique, the illusions released by the Red Sun also began to change. At this time, Hakide formed a seal again, performing a secret technique that even 3 generations of Hokage did not recognize. Secret technique, eat dreams. The strange dream-eating power spread, and suddenly a large number of Konoha villagers who had previously been affected by illusions showed pain on their faces. Then part of their vitality and souls continued to gather in the sky, becoming nourishment for Akira and Hakide. In Shiraishi's skill card, there was a special superpower secret skill called Dream Eater, which could eat up the energy in the opponent's dreams and convert it into one's own physical strength. This technique is very similar to the infinite Tsukuyomi in The Darkness, when he saw Hakide using Dream Eater and the power of the Sharingan Pearl to absorb the life force of many residents of Konoha village. He couldn't help but stick out his tongue. Obviously, he did not expect that there are still people in this era who can create such a powerful secret technique. Beizetsu seemed to have everything under control. Behind Hakide, it should be the 5th Kazekage of Sunagakure village. He is the only one in the ninja world who can create this level of art. Congratulations, you got it. The sudden words made Zetsu startled. The moment he turned around, he saw a young man dressed as a wealthy businessman, looking at Zetsu of the Akatsuki organization with a smile. The aura of the young man in front of him made Ju extremely frightened and uneasy. He touched his chin and said, "I am Laolan Chamber of Commerce Lopner." Hearing this name, Ju showed a horrified look and instantly activated the Mayfly technique, trying to escape underground. However, how could Lopner or Beishi let this guy go easily? Special water chakra condensed in his palm suddenly penetrated deep into the ground. At the same time, they turned into countless water dragons and followed Ju closely. The combination of inorganic reincarnation and water silk chakra creates a water dragon. Reading www.ukanshu.net is similar to the Mayfly technique in that it integrates with the Earth's vegetation to achieve the effect of high-speed movement through the network of organic matter, but Shiraishi remained motionless, and the fluctuations of chakra condensed on his fingers indicated that special coordinates had been left on Zetsu's body. The entire ground was completely stirred up. Seeing that Heliju could not escape the pursuit, Heliju quickly jumped out of the ground. During the leap, he saw the underground water dragon gathered into a sword light, shot out directly, and stabbed Ju's neck directly. In the flash of light, Black Ju made a quick decision, abandoned White Ju, and used his unique escape technique to escape. As for Beiju, he was killed by Shiraishi's water escape technique and fell slowly on the spot. Slowly coming to Beiju's body, Beishi frowned. This body, genius. Website address. Mobile version reading URL. Chapter 350. The Third Hokage's Last Choice. After collecting Beiju's body, Shiraishi returned to the location of the Laulan Chamber of Commerce's convoy. The remaining Uchiha clan members were currently being picked up by the Chamber of Commerce's convoy. Stop. Several Anbu personnel wearing masks appeared and tried to investigate the Laulan Chamber of Commerce. However, Lopner, disguised by Beishi, had no nonsense at all. The whirlwind knife in his hand suddenly shot out and directly took off the heads of the two Anbu. Blood was spilled all over the floor. Such a bloody scene made many Uchiha women and children look in fear. Only one little boy did not say a word, but continued to pack his luggage in an orderly manner and put it in the car. Not you afraid? Shaking his head, the young man continued to carry the things in his hands, trying to keep his tone calm. I'm very scared, but I also know that now is not the time to be afraid. I should pack my things as soon as possible and leave here as soon as possible. Since the relocation was not notified in advance, these relocating women and children moved very slowly, and some of them did not even pack their luggage. If it were not for the chaos in Konoha village, they would not be able to take care of this peripheral area. Otherwise a large number of Anbu personnel would have appeared blocked. Only you. When talking about his parents, the young man spoke very indifferently. My mother passed away early, and she stayed with my father on weekdays. Tonight, he took the initiative to stay and live with the family. So without further words, the young man already knew that his father was probably killed in the Konoha village. Facing the Konoha village in flames in front of him, there was a trace of confusion in his eyes. Once upon a time, he was just an ordinary child studying in a ninja school, and he also dreamed about whether he would become Hokage one day. However, the drastic changes at Uchiha made him suddenly confused. The future is a luxury for him. Going to the Kingdom of Wind may be a new beginning for you. Before stepping onto the carriage, the young man stuck his head out and asked, Uchiha, legend has it that they are a cursed evil clan. As Sunagakure, aren't you afraid? Ha. Ha ha ha. Shiraishi was amused by the words of the young man in front of him. He touched the head of the young man in front of him. Evil or righteous nature depends on one's luck and opportunities. Can it be determined based on the last name alone? Regarding Beishi's answer, the young man looked thoughtfully. Fate and opportunity. You are a very interesting kid. What is your name? Uchiha. Keri. After sending away the remaining Uchiha women and children, including Keri, Shiraishi looked at Keri Uchiha, who was looking at him with wide eyes. Well, Keri, look forward to the day when we meet in Sunagakure. Kindness. For some reason, Kei was very interested in the mysterious uncle in front of him. His eyes flashed as he bid farewell to Shiraishi. The fighting over there is getting more and more intense. Unohana. Ritsu, who appeared in the darkness, looked at the strange red sun in the sky that absorbed a large number of souls. Although she was unhappy in her eyes, she knew very well that this was the big trouble Shiraishi had left for Konoha. Uchiha. Kid can still resist for a while. Aren't you going to take action? Now that I take action, it is equivalent to starting a war in the ninja world. Uchiha. Civil strife and Sunagakure's direct action are completely different concepts. At present, Sunagakure is not ready to completely unify the ninja world, so Shiraishi has not taken direct action. Uchiha squinted his eyes and looked at the sky burning into red clouds in front of him. So do you want me to take action? Just help Feng delay for a while. The special dimensional cave coordinates flashed on Shiraishi's hand. It was obvious that when Lopner arrived in Konoha last time, Shiraishi had already set up special time and space ninjutsu coordinates inside Konoha to facilitate the travel through the dimensional cave point under the red sun. Konoha village seemed to be in purgatory. Many innocent villagers were caught in the flames and unable to move. Itachi, who walked out of the Uchiha mansion, looked at everything around him with a look of pain in his eyes. He could clearly sense that the resentment after the death of his clan members and the power of Sharinganese were all condensed on the red sun in the sky, forming a large-scale radiation illusion similar to Tsukuyomi. This weird sun must be destroyed. Thinking of Uchiha Itachi, just to cause unnecessary trouble, he directly put on the Anbu mask, turned on the Susanoo, and suddenly rushed to the location of the red sun high in the sky. Uchiha Itachi, who possesses Susanoo, plus the 10-fist sword and the 8-foot mirror, has enough power to fight. Suddenly, Uchiha Itachi suddenly noticed a crisis, and a dangerous arc brought by the sword light came to kill him. With an instant dodge, Susanoo punched out at the same time, only to see a man standing in the sea of fire, with long black hair swelling around his body, and wearing a special mask. Who are you? There was no forehead protector, and the chakra flow in his body was not strong. Even though Itachi himself couldn't detect the threat, he was extremely cautious, and he always felt that something was wrong. Ignoring Uchiha Itachi, Unohana quickly flashed his soul-cutting sword in his hand. In a flash of light, the sword thrust out with a domineering slashing storm, and actually opened a huge scar on Susanoo's body. TSK, what a terrifying slash. Obito appeared in the darkness, with a hint of fear in his tone. The real target of Unohana slash just now was to hide Obito. Although he used virtualization to avoid it, he could feel the fierce killing intent. As one of Shiraishi's trump cards, Unohana has not yet appeared in the village intelligence system. Therefore, even if there is an investigation afterwards, there is no way to find out the details of Unohana. Therefore, Shiraishi boldly sent Unohana to stop Uchiha this time. Itachi and Uchiha Obito point the knife was in Uchiha's hand, and the sound of the long knife falling rapidly caused the blade to produce light marks, like lightning cutting through the darkness. The deeper the surrounding area, the more it highlighted its majesty. The melee between the three attracted the attention of others in Konoha, but one was a strange swordsman, the other two were suspected to be Uchiha tribesmen, and the other was unidentified. They were both wearing masks. The melee between them made some people in Konoha unable to determine who it was. Enemies and teammates. Uchiha plead, even if I risk my life, I will stop your conspiracy. The third Hokage on the red sun was panting. The temperature around UU Reading www.ukanshu.net was constantly eating away at his remaining vitality. Facing the strange Uchiha Kid who contained countless Sharingan eyes, the third Hokage finally decided to use the last resort. Fourth generation, I'm sorry that I have to follow in your footsteps, but this is all for Konoha. No matter what you want to do, you must first be able to keep up with my speed. Kid. Uchiha appeared behind the third Hokage in a blink of an eye and slashed with two flaming knives. At this moment, the surroundings suddenly fell into darkness, and all five senses were temporarily blocked. The art of darkness, the technique created by the second generation Hokage in the past, was used by the third generation Hokage. Just when Uchiha Kid was about to break the illusion in front of him, he saw the hands of the third generation Hokage suddenly clasping his hands tightly. UPS. It would be meaningless if the plot continues to follow the original work. The subsequent Naruto plot will be mainly deduced by myself. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.